Dime lo que tú quieres de mi coqueta. Sé lo que te gusta es salir y se suelta. Cuando baila reggaetón pa' mí que muñeca. Me gusta salir y seducir. Dale chiquitita, dame más. Qué bonita que te quiere controlar. Ella dice que me quiere controlar. Nosotros los vamos a develar más. Dime, cómo tú te quieres a venir más. Dime, cómo los vamos a conocer más. Dime, no te quiero solo ver, quiero compartirte. Quiero que te vean y te sigan. Soy un bandolero, le gusta o era una coqueta. Dime cómo suena la pobreza. Sé que tú supiste que tú fuiste la coqueta. Tú siempre fuiste la coqueta. Dime lo que tú quieres de mi coqueta. Sé lo que te gusta es salir y se suelta. Cuando baila reggaetón pa' mí que muñeca. Me gusta salir y seducir. dime, dime, dime. Oye, Manuel, le gusta ver una coqueta. Oye, Manuel, le gusta ver una coqueta. Dime cómo suena la pobreza. Tú siempre fuiste la coqueta. Dime lo que tú quieres de mi coqueta. Sé lo que te gusta es salir y se suelta. Cuando baila reggaetón pa' mí que muñeca. Le gusta salir y seducir. Salir
Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge family. Get up on your feet if you're able to stand. Warm that body up, my friends. It is day 2 of the Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge. Let's have a little warm up, my friends. Move that body. Let's go. Come on. My friends at YouTube, our VIPs. Yes, 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 yes. That's it. Yes, Adam. Woo! Our YouTube family going off. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Whoa, yes. All right, my friends, first up, I want to say welcome. Welcome to day 2 of the Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge, which means there was a day 1. Some of you just joined last night, but regardless, we have 4 more days with the #1 most outstanding life and business strategist to walk our planet. That is Mr. Tony Robbins. Give it up for every single one of you participating in making your life a masterpiece. There you go. We got a board breaker in the house. Hey-oh. Whoa, yes. I want to start today by saying yesterday was off the charts. Definitely get inside the chat box. And those of you that were here with us yesterday, let me know how you're feeling today. With your new story, did you wake up energized, electric? It was absolutely off the charts. We definitely were on Tony's standard time, so we went, a little bit longer than we planned because Tony loves to add more value, and it was just absolutely incredible. We actually had a ton of new people join yesterday. So I want to say right off the bat, if you are just tuning in and you're like, who's this chick and where's Tony and what's going on? My friend sent me the link and I ended up here and who is Tony? Wherever you're at, whatever your current situation is, I want you to know you're right where you need to be. Day 2 is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Even if it's your first time here, you're going to be perfect. You're great. Those of you who were with us yesterday, we're so excited to give you this experience today. And I just want to remind you to savor every drop, every minute. We're going to get Tony up here really fast today because we have a lot to do in a short amount of time. And it's only day 2, which means that you've got 4 days, including today, tomorrow, all the way through this challenge. So if there's someone on your heart or on your mind and you're like, dang, they would really love this, shoot it to them. Shoot them the link, breakthrough2022.com. We would really, really love for them to join this family, and have an incredible experience with us. So that really means that 3/4 of you are brand new to this environment. So I gotta say, hats off to you. You've been off the charts. Your engagement, look at YouTube. Can we just look at YouTube's chat box here? I can't even keep up with it. Our VIPs, your energy, your posture. You're like, yo, what's up? I'm taking over the world. You guys are so great. Say Tony's absolutely blown away. Just before we got on here, he was just looking through your videos again and experiencing your energy that you're bringing, and he just can't wait to get here. It's really leaders like you that make this life worth living, so congratulations. Let's dive in. If you completed your homework assignment yesterday, make some noise. Shout yes. Oh, VIPs, I need more passion than that. If you completed your assignment, shout yes. It was the new story challenge. I want to give an acknowledgement to you because you pushed yourself outside your comfort zone. Some of you didn't even know how to go live. You went live. Some of you were nervous. You had tears. You had joy. You had excitement. You were jumping. You really went for it. And that's what these challenges are about. We're not doing it for fun. It's so that you can feel it in your body, but also push yourself past the feeling of being uncomfortable. So congratulations. We have winners, 5 winners that are going to be announced at the end of today. And reminder, you're going to be winning swag bags, Tony Robbins swag bags shipped to your front door, designed by Tony. And 3 of you are going to be winning tickets to Unleash the Power Within. Yes. And by the way, that event is in exactly 50 days from today, which is pretty dang cool. That's 4 days of full immersion with Tony. It's such a great event. I could go on and on about it, but 3 of you are going to be winning that ticket at the end of the day today. So play full out today, give your all. And then if you potentially didn't do your homework assignment last night, if you didn't do your homework assignment last night, does the past have to equal the future? If you didn't do it yesterday, today is a brand new day. It's a new opportunity. If you were, scared to get in the chat box, new opportunity. If you didn't have your video on, new opportunity. Isn't that funny how life works? We all believe in second chances, so today's your day to jump in and rewrite your participation story. We are so excited to meet you and get to know you. So we're going to kick today off with moving our body again. I want to remind you guys, Tony is somebody that has a ton of resources, connections. He's been around the block for some time. He's been doing this for 45 years. He knows the people that you need to know to get the most out of your life. One of those people is someone you're going to meet in just a second. You met him yesterday. He's going to help you align your body. Really quick exercises to give you that jolt of energy. And so if it's your first time working with us, I'm going to invite you to stand up if you're physically capable of doing it. If not, you can do these things from your chairs. But we're going to bring somebody on that's really going to set you up for success with your body, and so you can send some energy to your mind. And this is day 2, my friends. If you're ready for it, double fist bump it. Say yes. Say yes. Please welcome to the screen the man with the incredible socks. It is Brian Bradley from the Egoscue Method.
Good morning. All right. Listen, thank you, KK, the amazing KK. How many people want her energy? No lie. Listen, I just happen to have another book with me today. I just happen to have it. And this is the one that Tony was talking about yesterday, but I want to show you guys something. Why this guy does what he does is amazing. When you look at this picture from this book, let me get everything in order here. Oh, God. Read some of the stats that are on there. When he's on stage at a UPW, just get this stat alone. It's equal to 2.5 marathons or 10 NHL practices or 2.5 NBA games. Imagine the caloric expenditure that he's putting in. And in this Life Force book, you're going to find some really cool stuff. Sorry about that noise, but I'm in my studio here in my garage. Listen, guys, we're going to get you up and moving around. So let's get you up out of your chair right now. We only have a couple minutes before the man, the myth, the legend goes into day 2 of the 2022 Breakthrough Challenge. So to get you up, let's get you barefoot and let's do a couple checks. We're going to do 2 this time. Actually do 3. Let's do a balance check again. Where's my body weight from left to right? And we always do this with our customer base because remember, we're going back to this. How do you compare to what the norm of activity should look like? Your body should be balanced from left to right, balanced from front to back. Where is it today? Are you different than yesterday? Are you better than yesterday? And now I want you to just take your head and turn your head to the right, turn your head to the left. For me, I think I have better range of motion going this way, and I'm a little bit limited, probably maybe 10% limited going this way. Maybe it's because, when Master Co and I play some table tennis or we're playing some pickleball or we play golf, and if you notice, everything I'm doing is One Direction, which would be the name of a great band. You guys should see if anybody owns that thing called One Direction. Or even throwing a punch. If you're boxing, and I got a direct message yesterday on Instagram from somebody talking about doing kickboxing and boxing, they're tweaked. And maybe it's because we spend so much time going one side versus, hey, let me switch and fight southpaw for a little bit just to get the body more balanced. So turn your neck. What's that range of motion like? And then this one, I want you to turn sideways. Just don't bounce your head off your table. I want you to slowly bend over and see how far you can go. Now, I'm going to show you what the norm would be like. Most people will bend from here and they'll reach and say, I'm stuck, versus the pelvis becoming the mover and then taking you all the way down. Where can you go? So what we're going to do is we're going to get that pelvis to become the mover. So I want you to stand up and I want your feet in this position. Where do you see these socks today? Come on. Okay, here we go. A little American flag, little camo, little military stuff going on. I want you to touch your toes together at 45 degrees, just like this. Keep the weight flat. Keep the big toes flat to the ground. Next, I want you to hold your hands together, interlace them behind your head like this, pigeon-toed, and now pull your elbows back. So really pull those elbows back while your feet are pigeon-toed, and then take your quads slowly and push them back. So it's going to feel like you did this. When you push your quads back, it's going to kick your butt out like that and straighten your leg. And then with your hands interlaced, you're going to be standing super straight. Hold that for about 30 more seconds. You're only going to do this one interrupt today. So drop your shoulders from your ears. Don't come up here like this. Drop them, pull them back, fully interlace them like a Catholic. And now pull your elbows way back. Hold that. You've got about 20 seconds left. Quads tight is essential. Feet pigeon-toed. This is an amazing interrupt for you guys who are sitting all day. And instead of thinking sitting is the new cancer, sitting's the new smoking, I've never heard so much BS in my life about sitting and fear. Instead of saying sitting is a sport, let's train for it. Because last time I checked, we're sitting when we're on the toilet, we're sitting when we're in our office, and we're sitting when we're in our car. And those aren't going anywhere, folks. Okay, relax for a second. You've done one exercise for 1 minute. You rotated those legs internally like this. When's the last time you stood pigeon-toed? You took your hands and interlaced them above your head. Unless you've been arrested lately, you probably haven't done that. Putting your body in that position. Now let's check it. Where's your balance left to right? Turn your head to the right. Turn it to the left. What's it feel like? What's the difference? And now bend over and notice that your body may be moving a little freer from the hip. You went further down, or it was a little easier and it didn't pull your legs so much. That's an interrupt that you can do throughout the day, anytime from Egoscue. And now I'm going to run you through about 15 seconds of this room because we're going to wake this up because KK only responds to high energy. Here we go. We're going to do what we call the greatest abdominal exercise ever. 5 days of this. This is day 2. Ready, set, take it to your next level. Let's go. Fast, fast, fast. Go, KK. Go, KK. Let's go. Turn it on. Turn it on. Eat 'em up, Osceola. Eat 'em up, Osceola. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch legs. Here we go. Because after this, KK's on and then Tony. Here we go. Ready? Day 2. Go. 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 Get this upper body moving. Get the hip to stabilize. You guys look amazing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. KK, it's yours. Let's go.
Oh my goodness, everybody. I'm sweating up here. Hot tamale. Give it up for Brian Bradley, everybody. And give it up for every single one of you playing full out. Come on. So, I gotta tell you something. It's time to begin day 2 of the Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge. Are you ready for it? I don't believe you. I said, are you ready for it? I'm gonna need to see the energy in the chat, the energy on the screen. VIPs, crank it up. There's somebody that's trying to get on stage. And today, my friends, you're gonna learn the force that drives all human behavior. Would you like to know what the force is that drives all human behavior? Let's get him up here, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome to the basement stage, Tony Robbins.
How y'all doing out there? YouTube, Facebook, our Zoom family. 1, 2, 3, wake it up. Come on, wake that body up. or somebody in person if you're with them. Grab a seat, feeling great. Maybe take a little sip of water after all that activity. Stay hydrated. And then in your chair, after you get that water, create even more energy sitting than when you're standing. Wake it up. Well, welcome back to day 2 of your Ultimate Breakthroughs 2022. Listen, first of all, I just want to thank you not only for your participation, but for really going all out. You know, we asked you if you'd do your old news story out of yesterday, and really you could see so many beautiful breakthroughs. Somebody really creative. I saw this one woman, the lights are out. My old story was, and then she'd turn the lights on to tell her news story. Some people had their back to the old story and flipped around for the news story. But there were also so many moving stories as well. I saw the example of Josh Smith. I saw you out there. Some of your stories made me laugh. Some of them made me smile. Some made me cry. I'm an emotional creature. I was very touched. Josh, he made $250,000 in crypto and fell in love and moved across the country and had this beautiful dream, got married, and then it all fell apart. Got really depressed, and his marriage fell apart and got divorced and felt like he was suicidal. And that was his old story. And today he's got a brand new story, and seeing the shift in him is just gorgeous. So I really, my message and love out to you there, Josh. And also Natalia was another one. You know, I guess, I don't remember how many years ago she said it was, but I think 9 years ago, I think it was, she said her brother died, and her story was that somehow she was responsible. It's a common pattern, unfortunately, people do to themselves. But you could just see the transformation. As a result of that, she said, I don't deserve love. I don't deserve abundance. I don't deserve anything. And then to see that shift. So it's really true, my friends. Change your story, change your life. So yesterday, our foundation was to kind of connect, kind of give you a picture of what this is about. Understand that it's all patterns, right? It's a pattern of thinking. It's a pattern of emotion. It's a pattern of focus. And if we change our pattern, everything changes. If we change it a little, we get a little change. But if we make a radical change and we consistently make that change, our whole life changes. And so you're going to have to remind yourself of your new story. It's not just something you do once. It's like you got to keep on. This is what's true. Because there's an old phrase, if you tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and long enough, sooner or later people believe you. Who said that? Hitler. That was his strategy. But most of us are Hitler to ourselves. We tell ourselves a lie where we beat ourselves up, which lowers our energy. And when your energy lowers, you do not get the insights, the truths, your beauty and your strength and your emotion that really doesn't serve you. It drops you. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where, you lose momentum. You can get negative momentum where things get worse and worse and worse. So yesterday was really about seeing if we can help you to understand how to break that. Start to recognize patterns, use new patterns, create new patterns. That's really what this week is about. And also it's kind of showing you how breakthroughs happen. I hope you got it in your body, right? We talked about strategy, story, state. That's the sequence most people do. And the tyranny of how. We don't want to start with how. We don't want to start with strategy because the real problem usually is the story. That's the glue. But what will break that glue up is the right state. And that's why I really appreciate you guys, even though you're home jumping and screaming, making noise and doing these things, because it's not about rah-rah BS. It's about awakening your nervous system. That's the only way you can reprogram it. Nothing changes, nothing moves, especially something that feels immovable like a problem, without a lot more energy. It takes energy to create what you really want. And that energy, sometimes the mind gets in the way of that energy, and sometimes it's the body if we don't take care of it. But either one can be overcome. As we said, it doesn't matter how much sleep you've had, how much food you've had, right? You can demand it. And if you keep demanding it, you'll develop that habit. Same reason why I jumped in the water, right? First thing this morning as always, right? It's like I say, this is what we're going to do. My brain doesn't argue anymore. It knows when I say we're doing it, we do it now. There's no hesitancy. So it's all about creating some simple new habits. But I think you got really a good sense of the power of story yesterday. And how many enjoyed finding those different parts of yourself, right? The warrior, the lover, the magician. I got some good value out of that too. Good. Well, today we're going to do this in about less than 2 hours, right about 2 hours. So it'll be a little bit less than yesterday. I'm trying to get it to 90. I don't know if I ever will, I'll be honest with you, but within 2. Because I just want to give you as much as I can. But my focus today is give you 3 pieces of content, 3 tools, 3 insights that can change everything without exaggeration. And each day we'll start stacking. So today I want to share with you the fundamental principle that controls all of your behavior, controls a great deal of your emotion. You say, isn't that story? Yes, but there's a specific story or kind of story. Think of it this way. Beliefs, and by the way, I hope you're taking some notes. I see many of you doing it. Remember, if you just sit passively and hear me, studies show, and I don't know if you believe them or not, different studies show you'll remember about 10% a month from now. If you listen and you take down some notes, even if you don't read them, it goes 50, 60%. If you listen, take notes, and you're physically active, use your voice, use your body, etc., jumps to 90, 95%. I want to make sure you get the most out of it. So who's up for getting the most out of this day here, ladies and gentlemen? Say aye. Say aye. So write down this little phrase to start with. So we'll use this as the frame of reference, because what does a story and what I'm going to talk to you have in common? They're beliefs. So write down beliefs create and beliefs destroy. Certain beliefs will create the quality of life you want. Certain beliefs will destroy the quality of your life. When you were listening, when I was describing these stories of Natalie and I think it was John, right? Both of them developed a set of beliefs that then controlled what they focused on. It controlled their emotion. It controlled what they were doing and experiencing. But just a quick change, and by the way, one of the ways you change a belief is you question it. See, if you question something enough, you'll feel uncertain. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, if someone comes to you and says, John here, you think he's your friend, but he's talking behind your back and he's doing this and doing that. And you go, no, that's not possible. John's my friend. When you say John's my friend, you're saying I have a belief about who John is in my life. My John would never do that with me. But if 4 people tell you this, you might start to go, wow, is John really trying to screw me over here? And in that moment, it produces doubt. If you question anything enough, it produces doubt. And many of you, the very number one thing that's keeping you from what you really want to achieve, when I was working with some of the VIP questions yesterday, is like people constantly questioning themselves. Now, don't get me wrong. It's useful to question yourself, but not all the time. It's like save it up for Friday and question everything at 2:00. But if you keep questioning yourself, you produce doubt. And doubt makes you uncertain, means you don't believe. And when you're uncertain, you don't do squat. And if you start with how to do this, the strategy, and you've never done it before, you pretty much put yourself in a place of doubt. That's why we want to start with a right state, a state of certainty and energy, the right empowering story, and then we can figure out the right strategy. But our beliefs, they control everything. And remember, we want to fulfill our beliefs. That's why when I said look for brown in the room, you saw beige stuff and called it brown just so you could feel more successful. Or when I said what was red, you called burgundy red to feel successful. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there are many different types of beliefs. And I'm not going to try and walk you through all these in this short little session, but just to give you a picture, you have some beliefs about what you value most, like what's most important to you and what's least important to you. And those beliefs about what you value, and they're beliefs. What you value is a belief, and it shapes your life. If you value security the most, you're going to behave radically differently than if you value adventure or making a difference or love, right? So each of us have different beliefs, and they control us. And so one of the beliefs I want to talk about today is one of the most powerful beliefs of all. In fact, if you're going to have lasting change, please hear me now. Who here has made a change and went right back and got pissed off at yourself? Made a change. Who's done this multiple times? Make some noise if you've done this, right? I know a person said, I've lost 150 pounds, 10 pounds 15 times and gone right back again, right? So it's like, or someone will say to me, I'm on day 7 of not smoking a cigarette. And I always go, why are you counting? So you can tell people how long you last this time when you go back? There is a way to get lasting change. And that's what we all really want. And the only way I know is to understand the principle of identity. Identity. What the hell is identity? Please write this down. Identity is the strongest force in the human personality. The strongest force in the human personality is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. That's all identity is how do you define yourself? Who do you believe you are and who do you believe you aren't? Many of us define ourselves, but well, we're not. I'm not one of those. That's one way. The other, this is who I am. So write it down. The strongest force in the human personality, and everybody's personality, is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. So if you define yourself in some negative terms, like let me give you an example. Let's say you really have this big goal and you're excited about it and you decide you're going to go for it. And then last minute you get scared. We all have fear. You're afraid of failing, afraid of being rejected, afraid of not looking good, afraid you're not enough, afraid you won't be loved, whatever the fear is. And so as a result of the fear, you pull back and you don't do it, you procrastinate. And then you get your passion up again and your determination and you say you're going to go for it and last minute you get scared and pull back again. Well, after 4 or 5 times of this, you start to get pissed off at yourself and you don't want to feel that way. So guess what you do? You create an identity for yourself. I am a procrastinator. That's different than I procrastinated. How many raise your hand if you can tell the difference? I procrastinated versus I am a procrastinator. One is a momentary situation. The other is an identity. And once it's your identity, the strongest force in you is that you need to be consistent with your identity. See, if you don't know who you are, how can you decide what to do, what to be, what to create, what to give? When someone has an identity crisis, typically they say it happens for men around 40 years old or 45, and they suddenly change everything and question everything. It isn't just men. Everybody has identity questioning. In fact, I want you to know it's very natural to go a period of time. I'm going to make the time up. It's different for everyone. 7 years. And just a round, not really a round number, but a number I see quite a large number of people have the pattern. Somewhere around 5 to 10 years, but let's say 7 years, people commit to a way of being, a relationship, a certain way of being in their family, a business, a career. And then there's a point when people tend to question. Is this really what I want? I've been doing this forever. Is this really it? Who can relate to this in some way in your life? Make some noise if you can, so I know. And people think there's something wrong with them. No, it's part of the growth path. It just makes you question, but it also makes you uncertain, like when you're questioning who you are and how you're living and what you're doing. And when people do this, they go through a period of questioning, and if they're smart, they commit to something. They either say, no, I love what I'm doing, and they recommit, and they go another 7 or 10 years, and they question again a little bit. It might be a shorter questioning, it might be more. Or they pick a new direction and go. That's part of expanding or shifting identity. But most of us in our culture, because we have a 2 million-year-old brain that's always looking for what's wrong to protect us, most of us have created portions of a negative identity, and it's limiting you. So let me see if I can give you a metaphor that might make it really helpful. Think of it this way. If we set the thermostat in the room you're in right now at 68 degrees, and that's your comfort zone, that's where you're comfortable, not what your goal is, and we're going to use 68 degrees as a metaphor for what you're comfortable with, meaning your current identity. It's not what you want. You want more. You want more financially. You want more emotionally. You want more in your relationship. You want more with your family. You want more in your business. You want more, but you believe this is who I am, and so you stay kind of comfortable in that. Still have desire, but we usually radiate to our comfort zone. Now, if it's 68 degrees as a metaphor for how much love you allow in and you're comfortable with versus how much you want, or how much money you have, or how well your business is going, or what a great relationship you have with your kids, or whatever, how happy you are, is controlled by your identity. Some people believe they're happy people. Some people say, I'm never happy. Nothing ever makes me happy. And by the way, they look for things that make them unhappy. They look for brown and they find it. Am I making sense to you? But it also happens on the other side. So watch this. Let's say you're a 68 degreeer and then things don't go really well. And you gain some weight and then some more and some more. Or your relationship gets really unpassionate and boring and not connected, or maybe angry, or your body or your finances or your business drops. There's a point, 67, 66, 65, 62, somewhere around 60 degrees, the computer in your brain, the thermostat goes, hey, what are you doing down here at 60? You're a 68 degreeer. And you feel this push, this heaters kick on, the drive to say, I got to get back to who I really am. Who here in this virtual room around the earth, who here has had an experience where it got so damn bad, then something in you finally kicked in gear and said, no more, and you changed it? Raise your hand, make some noise if you've done this successfully. And by the way, isn't that really what happened yesterday when you look through your past breakthrough? Remember I said find a breakthrough? And what pushed you to finally deal with it? For most people, they hit a threshold where I'm done, not more of this. They got to a certain level below their identity. And so all of a sudden you push, and you get back to where you're going to be. Now, some people, they get inspired and they push more and they expand and they go from 68, their comfort zone, to 70, 75, 82, 88, 98 degrees. And all of a sudden the computer kicks on. Hey, what the hell are you doing? You're not a 98 degree, you're a 68 degree. What the hell? And then what happens? The heaters that drive you stop and you lose your drive and you start to drift down. If that's not enough, the air conditioners kick on and you start to sabotage yourself until you get right back to where you were before. Who has ever experienced this where things went so well that you start to screw up the relationship or say things or do, and you're like, why did I say that? And you did it. Or you're in sales and you stop selling and you start buying shit, right? You don't work as hard. Who's had this experience where you started doing well and you started to sabotage it? Make some noise if you've had this experience. You know what I'm talking about here. So your identity is the most powerful force in your life. And for most of us, our identity is subconscious and it was designed years ago and it needs an update. If we update this with a new story and an updated identity, the two together are a force to be reckoned with, and you can shift anything in your life. But if you don't, here's what happens. People try to make a change, but the change is more than how they see themselves, and so they don't do it. They do it for a little bit and drop back because the foundation is 68 degrees. I'll give you an example. Smoking is an example. Like, who here used to smoke cigarettes or cigars and no longer does? Raise your hand or put it in the chat so I can see who used to do this. Well, first of all, congratulations for freeing yourself of that stuff. We all know what it does to the body. Cancer is pretty rough. But if you once smoked cigarettes and you don't anymore, and I came to you today and said, hey, would you like a cigarette? Would you say, what brand is it? No, what would you say, guys? Put it in the chat. What would you say if I said, do you want a cigarette and you don't smoke? What are you going to say? Well, yeah, not just no. Some say no really intense. No, I'm not a smoker. No, I don't smoke. No, I'm not one of those. See, when you don't have to work at smoking anymore or not smoking is when it's your identity that you're not one of those. Because once your identity shifts, you don't even consider it. You don't go, what brand is it? It's like, no, that's not who I am. How many follow how powerful this is? If you get it, say yes. Say yes. So we have the power once we wake up because the identity you're living with today, probably for most of us, is come from your past and it wasn't consciously created. Now, some people say, well, I have a terrible life because my parents, they always told me I was worthless and I was terrible. And guess what? Your parents said a lot of shit. How come you remembered that? Because it's convenient, right? People can tell your whole life you're a piece of crap, and there can be a party that goes, bullshit, I'm going to show you. Who's had that experience in your life somewhere, in business or in life, right? So it's not what people tell you doesn't create your identity. You can also have someone tell your whole life you're the most beautiful, you're the smartest, you're the most intelligent, you're amazing. And you can be beautiful, handsome, attractive, smart, and not feel it. True? So this is the leverage, guys, where we get lasting change. We got to shift this inside of ourselves because beliefs, and it's a very special belief, who I am, beliefs create and beliefs destroy. And if you've ever been pissed at yourself and you're like, why do I keep sabotaging? It's because you are trying to do something without expanding your identity. Now, you don't have to give up your identity. You just got to expand it a little bit. Now, when you have the right identity, you make it look easy to other people. I'm going to give you an example. Lance Armstrong's a tough example because of the doping scandal he was involved in and so forth. But just for a moment, step out of the judgment and just look at this man's sense of identity. His identity is, I do whatever it takes to win. Now, it hurt him in the sport because he did the doping and lost his career and lost his brand and so forth. It's a sad story. But it saved his life when he had cancer. Think about this. Imagine someone comes to you and says, the doc says, you better sit down. You have cancer in your lungs, in your brain, and in your testicles. And by the way, you ride a bike for a living. I mean, it's devastating. Most people would hear that story and it would convert based on their identity to, I'm going to die. Lance Armstrong said, this is bullshit. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to win because I always win. So what hurt him in one area actually saved his life in another. How many follow this and get the sense of what I'm talking about here? Say I. Because by the way, he didn't do one thing or two things. He did everything. And he had this internal certainty that, again, you know, all you VIPs, when you get the book, I hope the rest of you get it too. Again, I'm not selling you. I'm not making a dime on the book. I'm giving it all away. But make sure you read those last 2 chapters because it'll show you the power of the mind specifically to shift your entire biochemistry. I mean, it's extraordinary. I share the story in the book of the first person I ever worked with who had cancer, which was my girlfriend's mom. I was deathly afraid I'd have cancer. I had these dreams that maybe I'd succeeded at a young age because I was going to die young. But you know, the old survival brain, my survival brain didn't say I was going to get hit by a truck. No, I was going to waste away slow of cancer. And then sure enough, there was cancer in my life. And it wasn't me, it was her. And I was like, I don't give up. There's got to be an answer. Many people have had cancer and turned it around. She was told that she was terminal. Go home. You got about 9 weeks to live. She's still like today, 40 years later. And the reason was because she took action. I read every book I could. I gave her this book called One Answer to Cancer. It was a doctor who had cured himself of pancreatic cancer, which is one of the most deadly cancers. And I wouldn't recommend the book today. There are better books. There's better techniques. But she took it. She applied it. And literally in a few weeks, she felt better. And then the doctor couldn't believe she's still alive. 3 months later, they did exploratory surgery. And she had tumor on her shoulder and her uterus. And all he could find exploratory surgery left was this little thing the size of a little pinky fingernail. And the doctor said it's spontaneous remission. And she said, well, these are the things I did. But she did things physically and she did things mentally. We have more power than you realize, but your identity is controlling it all. Some of the stories earlier were tied to identity. My brother died, he committed suicide. I'm responsible. I didn't do enough for him. And so this person builds a negative identity. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve abundance. I don't deserve a great relationship. And once you believe that shit, it's self-fulfilling. How many get this? Say I. Say I. So if you want to shift it, let me help you understand. By the way, I want to show you another example. Good example, because I work with so many people, and especially with COVID now, I'm sure you've seen suicide's gone through the roof. Drug overdoses are the largest in American history this last year. People are clinically depressed. Supposedly, I didn't do the study, but the CDC estimates that 1 in 4 children under the age 18 considered suicide because they didn't have what we're going to talk about today, a compelling future. And I understand why people feel that way. But then some people get diagnosed. And when some people get diagnosed, that diagnosis becomes their identity. Like, for example, some people they come to my seminar, and I always, if you get in my live event, I'm walking around. I don't just stand on the stage and I'm boom, boom, boom. I'm interacting with people. It's because we all learn best by those interactions, right? And so, I'll call on somebody or I'll stop and somebody say, what? And they'll say, well, I don't think you can help me because I'm clinically depressed, right? And, it's now their identity. And then I'll catch them really happy. I'll tease them, make them laugh or something. And I'll say, are you depressed right now? And I said, could you look pretty happy? I go, no. See, if you go to somebody, is there a difference between clinically depressed, your identity, and feeling depressed? You bet. One's a temporary thing. Who's ever felt depressed? Raise your hand, make some noise, or put it in the chat. Have you ever felt depressed? Yes? But if you're clinically depressed, it's who you are, and now you're vested in it. Subconsciously, not consciously. So if you find a clinically depressed person, you catch them when they're happy, you go, are you happy? I go, no, it just looks like I'm happy. I'm really depressed. And it's not them, they're not playing games. They're just meeting their 68 degrees. That's now who they are. So it is, your identity can be a prison or it can be heaven. But you're going to have to expand it or change it. Now, you know who knew how to change identity most powerfully? One of the most powerful examples in recent American history was the Korean War. Because in the Korean War, the Chinese worked with the North Koreans. And they had a brilliant strategy that they've utilized, and they still have this strategy today, but they taught it to them. And up until that time in American history, every soldier is taught name, rank, serial number. You do not give any information about your country, about who you are. I see some men in the room and a few women here nodding their heads who obviously were in the service. Thank you for your service. Those nodding your heads, I really do acknowledge you. We should all acknowledge the people that have served from all over the world. So many of the freedoms that we take for granted, someone else spilled blood for, put their life on the line for. So thank you is not enough words, but it's the only words we can speak, so thank you. But these men and women, in those days it was men in the Korean War, when they were POWs, prisoners of war, they had a different strategy. They got more American POWs to collaborate than any time in American history. In fact, the generals and people back here on this side couldn't understand what was happening, because it's so engraved. Name, rank, serial number, you give nothing. And most soldiers, they just give nothing. But there was this mass change there. And how did they do it? Well, unlike previous POWs in other wars where they beat you or abused you or threatened you, and now there's a point when people will give up information because there's nothing left of their body or their spirit. But if you give up information because you were almost beat to death, it doesn't change your identity. You go, I had nothing left, right? And I'm sure you've seen people talk about being in a POW and saying everybody has their breaking point. That's the way it works. And like people even make shit up to give to the other side to try to survive. When you're in those situations, you're at the mercy of someone that's inhuman. But the Chinese taught the North Koreans to do something radically different. They isolated people. They made their life unbelievably difficult. But then they bring them in one by one for interrogation. And the average interrogation was about 16 to 20 hours. And the interrogation was not mean and harsh. The interrogator would just start conversationally, and the guy's ready to go through it, and he said, listen, we have no desire to harm you. Well, obviously, we have to imprison you here because you're trying to harm us. You're on our land. We aren't in America trying to harm you. You're here in our country trying to harm us. So please understand, we don't wish badly on you, but we have to protect ourselves, and we have to punish anyone who tries to harm our country just as you would in your country. And then they have these long conversations, and it would take hours and hours and hours. But as someone got tired, they didn't offer, oh, by the way, the other way you can get someone to give something is give them an incentive, like I'll turn you free if you give me this information. They didn't do that either. They didn't give you like a brand new meal. They didn't do anything huge. All they did was wear you down till you were so exhausted and tired, and they had been so reasonable, they'd say something like after 10 or 12 or 14 or 16 or 18 hours, they'd say, look, I mean, can't you acknowledge the truth? Are you so brainwashed by your own country that you can't acknowledge that you're here in our country attacking us? We're not attacking you. And eventually the person would say, well, of course, obviously I'm here, and yes, we're attacking you, but there's good reason. And he said, but you don't know those reasons. You're just following orders. And the reasons you're told are not true. I mean, for example, isn't it a fact that you have unemployed people in your country that are starving? And in our country, no one's unemployed. Now, they don't mention that they get $2 a day, but no one's unemployed, right? And you know that's a fact. You've seen, you hear. And eventually they go, okay, we have unemployment, you don't. And they build this case literally, and sometimes it would take 4 or 5 days of 18 or 20 hours until the person would finally say, yes, we are here attacking. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to harm you personally. And, you know, I'm just trying to do what I think is the right thing. And yes, you have unemployment. And finally, towards the end, they'd be saying things not good about their own country, and then something positive about communism, and then they'd say, well, write that down. I'm not going to write that down. Well, isn't it true? And after 20 hours, and now you're 3 weeks into it, they'd write down. And pretty soon they had statement after statement until they had a whole document in the person's own handwriting attacking their own country and saying positive things about communist North Korea. And they didn't stop there. Then they were nice to them. They didn't give them a special gift. They didn't beat them. They let them go back to their cell. And now they'd put together a group of 4 or 5 of these guys and have them read their statements. And they'd look at each other. And like they had to justify because it was in their own handwriting and no one had beat them and no one had offered them a huge incentive. So they then go back to their cells and they would broadcast these people reading through the sound speakers their own statement. So you heard it in their own voice. And now they're in the general population and soldiers are coming and saying, what the hell are you doing? Are you insane? Did they beat you? Did they offer you freedom? And they're like, no, then what the hell did you do? And all of a sudden they go, because it's true. In that moment, they'd changed their identity. And then people got more mad at them, which reinforced them, and now they became pro-communist more than any time in history. Now, what can we learn from this, and why am I telling you this story? You're not in a prison camp, unless you're doing it to yourself mentally. But here's what human beings do. The Chinese understood that we develop our identity most often by judging what we do. If I asked you about a friend of yours and said, what's that friend like? You'll start to tell me your beliefs about that friend, but where'd they come from? You've seen how they treat other people. You've seen how they've treated you consistently. And so you say, my friend is generous and loving and this and that. You have an identity for them. In fact, sometimes I'll show in a seminar, I'll walk up to somebody and I'll say, what's your name? And this person will say their name. And I say, everybody say hello to Susan. Everybody says hello, Susan. And I said, now, my interactions with Susan are not controlled by Susan. They're controlled by my beliefs about Susan. And even though I haven't met her yet, I've watched her for 4 or 5 hours. And I've noticed she's really generous with the people during the sharing. I've noticed she's really sweet to this man beside her. I don't know if it's a husband or a boyfriend, but she's really loving. I noticed this, I noticed that. So what I pull from that is she's a generous, giving, loving human being. And she's nodding her head and everything else. And so if I believe that Susan is a generous, loving, beautiful human being and she's my dear friend, is it going to affect the way I interact with her? A little or a lot? Which one, guys? This is a lot. This is a little. Which one? A lot, right? Massively. But what if I watched her and I saw her smiling at me and talking to people and I thought, that manipulating bitch, she thinks she can just smile at me and get me to be that way? Because maybe I've had a different experience in my life of being manipulated. And so I developed this whole story of her identity, she's a manipulating bitch. And now, by the way, watch this. If a person is your best friend in your mind, you're a good friend, generous, beautiful, and one day they treat you horribly, mean, you'd be shocked, you'd be hurt. You try to resolve it. But if you had to go to a meeting, you leave the meeting, and what would you do? You would probably rationalize their behavior, wouldn't you? You'd probably saying they're having a what? Put it in the chat. They're having a what? What are they having? It's your friend. They're normally, that's right. They're having a bad day. Almost everybody, bad day, bad day, bad day. Somebody said breakdown. Bad day, right? How many of you have had a day you hope somebody rationalized your behavior and thought you were just having a bad day? Make some noise out there, right? But watch this. Watch this. If you believe this person is not your good friend and not generous and not beautiful, that are a manipulator, they'll do anything for money, they'll do anything to get what they want, and they don't treat you mean, no. They treat you real nice. What's the first question in your mind? What do they, put it down in your notes, what do they, come on, show me in the chat, that's right, what do they want? So here's what I want you to understand. Your relationships are controlled by identity. The belief you have about people controls your relationship. It isn't actually the relationship. And some of you start out in a relationship with one identity in the beginning of the relationship, and then you go through problems or challenges and you start making up a story. Oh, this person doesn't give a shit. Oh, this person is lazy. Oh, this person just wants it their way. And you tell yourself that story over and over again, then you go, why isn't my relationship working? Because you just built a destructive identity, and now you're not responding to your partner, you're responding to the labels, all those stickies of all those moments you've had that are in the way of the truth, and then it becomes self-fulfilling. You find brown because you're looking for brown, and pretty soon you justify you're the good one, they're not, and the relationship is going to generally be over, or you'll stay together and be miserable. How many understand what I'm talking about here? Say aye. So the lesson that I want you to understand is there is no more powerful force than identity. If I asked you, who are you? Write down in your notes right now. Just first response right out of the gut. Don't even think. And I'm going to ask you multiple times, who are you? Jot it down. Who are you? I'm strong. I'm love. I'm a pain in the ass. I'm a caring person. I'm passionate. I'm kind. I'm powerful. I'm kind, I'm daring, I'm flexible, I'm a fighter, I'm giving, I'm generous, I'm silly, I'm hardworking, I'm loyal, I'm resilient, I'm a spiritual being, I'm a compass. Beautiful. Now notice you're only giving me your positive ones. You know why? Because you're in a positive state of mind, right? You're in the right state. So you come up with a great story. Now, how many of you, when you get in a shitty state and get pissed at yourself, have a different identity? Make some noise if you have a different identity. Write down some of the shit you call yourself. Write down in the chat some of the things you call yourself when you're really pissed off, when you don't think you're doing great. Then who am I? I'm a loser. I'm useless. I'm selfish. I'm lazy. I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. I'm a procrastinator. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a dumbass. I'm an asshole. I'm lazy. I'm fat. I'm weak. I'm stupid. Okay, that's enough. No more of that shit. Okay? Give me another positive identity. Who are you at your best? Tell me who you are at your best. Shout it down. Right? I'm my best. I'm a gift. I'm loving. I'm a force. I'm an optimist. I'm strong. I'm resilient. I'm generous. I'm magical. I'm silly. I'm giving. I'm strong. I'm charismatic. I'm caring. I'm loving. I'm fireworks. I'm a listener. I'm the best. I'm capable. I'm loving. I'm loyal. Awesome. So I want you to get that the first lesson is still the first lesson. The first lesson is the story. Change your story, change your life. And to do it, you got to put yourself in the right state each day. So I mentioned it yesterday because I don't know if I'm going to teach it this week or not, but if I don't, go to TonyRobbins.com some point at / what is it? /priming. And there's that 10-minute process I do every morning to put myself in the right state so my mind is primed to come up with the right story and the right strategies. All right? So if you haven't done that, maybe do that for yourself. There's no charge, there's no fees, there's no nothing. It's just my little gift to you. But I do it every day. Right? Besides the water and the other things I shared. So here's what I want you to get. Your state's going to affect your identity, but there's an identity beyond state. There's a place inside yourself you can start to identify that is immutable. Like, I know no matter how big the problem is, no matter how overwhelming it feels, no problem is permanent. No pandemic has ever been permanent, and this one isn't either. Right? No war is permanent. Nothing is permanent. Life is not permanent. Your soul, that's permanent. Your spirit, whatever it is that we are really made up of. Well, you've been there. If you've ever been there when someone's dead, and I've had, unfortunately, multiple experiences of that. I remember early in my life, just so I'd understand it, I went with this doctor to New York, Sloan Kettering, and I went down to the morgue, and he opened, one at a time, he opened up these bodies, and like they weighed the same, everything's the same, except nothing's there. You almost think you see movement at first. It's a bizarre thing for the human brain because we like to hide ourselves from the idea of death. It seems so overwhelming. But death can be a good counselor, reminding you that life is not promised. Tomorrow is not promised. We've all heard that phrase. It's so corny, but it's true. And so maybe it's time to expand your identity, expand it in a way where you go from 68 degrees is your comfort zone to maybe 98 degrees becomes your comfort zone, or 100. And now there's a whole other world available to you, and you can sustain it. Now, how do you do that? Well, I did it through what I call incantations. Remember I mentioned to you yesterday that when I first was out on my own trying to figure out what the hell to do, and I knew how to feed my mind. So I'd go to the library. That's all I am. There was no internet in those days. But, I went and bought that book, The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. And that first book, and then I had so many more after that, really taught me how to condition my mind. I'd put up all these posters around the room like, this isn't true, but this was my belief back then. I was so depressed, and I was like, is there a reason to live? Because I miss my family and my life, living in this little laundry room, and trying to get myself, it's during Christmas times, it was the worst time, because you're not with your family, and so I'm not yet going back to school where there might be some mental relief, but it's like, am I going to stick around? And then I read this book, and it's like, no, I got to program my mind, and so I put up these posters on the wall in the laundry room. I even wrote on soap so I'd look into the mirror and see the words while I saw myself. And I wrote, only a loser's depressed. Now, that's not even slightly true, so you know. But I knew somewhere I wasn't a loser, even though I was depressed. So by combining those two, it's like, boom, I'll never go there again. In fact, I never used that word again. I've never felt depressed since that day, and I'll explain this later in the week, because that language is no longer a part of my lexicon. I might feel pissed off or frustrated or stressed or overwhelmed, but I don't get depressed, because when I got depressed, it felt like no reason to be around, and I saw that had to be cut off. Language helps to put us in state, as you're going to learn a little bit more over the next few days. So I want you to get that the way I changed myself was conditioning in the most powerful way I call incantations. What's an incantation? Well, an affirmation you've already heard of. And write this down. Affirmations without discipline are the beginning of delusion. My teacher, Jim Rohn, taught me that when I was 17. Affirmations without discipline are the beginning of delusion. Oh, I'm happy. You know, getting up and going, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. And your brain says, read between the lines. You know, I am not happy, right? I don't give a damn all this bullshit saying I'm happy. But what I figured to learn to do, and I didn't even know how I was doing it then. Now I understand the science of it. I started saying, no, I'm going to do incantations. The spelling is the same as incantations. It's just a different emphasis. And what that meant was, I'm not just going to affirm things. I'm going to change my body. I'm going to say things with such intensity out loud over and over again. By saying it and using my body, I'm using the auditory part of the brain, I'm using the kinesthetic, the movement part of the body, and I'm changing my focus all at one time. Changing my body, changing my focus, and changing my words. 3 components that you'll see in a few moments control how you think and feel every moment. But I would go and do these incantations at the top of my lungs. I'd go for a walk initially, and then I got in better shape, and I'd go on a run, and I would do this over and over again. The first experience I ever had of this was I was 17. I was in high school. I became student body president before all hell broke loose. And then that Christmas, my dad got kicked out by my mom. She was a pretty powerful lady. And she chased me out with a knife because she thought I was on his side. He went back to Chicago. He didn't know what happened to me. I was on my own. So now I'm sleeping in this laundry room. And now I'm going to school finally. And I'm trying to figure out what to do. And I got to support myself. So I got a job working as a janitor in the middle of the night cleaning 2 banks. But it was in a place called San Marino, California, near Pasadena, California, which was, I had to take buses. I didn't have a car. It was 3 buses I had to catch to get there. But I could get there, and the good thing is it wasn't paid by the hour. I was clean the entire banks, all its offices, and I was a good cleaner. I'd done it my whole life, and I worked my ass off, and I could do it in a few hours and get pay that I could never earn on an hourly basis. And then I'd have to take all the buses all the way home. And I get home usually at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I had to try and fall asleep and get up, 3 hours later, 4 hours later, and get up in time for school. And I was having a hard time waking up on time for school. It got me in trouble there too. But I remember one night specifically that changed my life. I still feel this in my gut from that night when I was 17 years old. I finished cleaning the banks. It's like 2:30 in the morning. I crossed the street to where the little bus stop was, and I waited for the bus. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And after about 45 minutes, I started to get really concerned, and it's the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, this car comes by, and a guy rolls down his window and goes, "Hey, buddy, didn't you read the papers? There's a bus strike." It started at midnight that night. So I'm 16 miles from home on the most straight track. Of course, the buses have to go switch where you go and so forth and stop. How am I going to get home? I don't have somebody I can call. I didn't have couldn't call my family. So I decided, and at that point I had a lot of anger in me because of what had happened to my mom. And so sure enough, I decided I was going to run home. Now, I'd never run 2.5 miles. And I ran 16 miles. And I did it by doing these incantations. And I started out just going every day and every way. I'm getting stronger and stronger every day and every way. And I would do, and then I do it in different tones of voice. Every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. Every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. Every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. Every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. And I would do this, and then I'd switch. I'm getting happier and happier. I'm getting healthier and healthier. And this, I literally hypnotized myself into an identity far beyond anything that I'd ever experienced before. And when I got home, I was exhausted, but I had done something. Remember, how do the Chinese know who they are? We know who we are by often what we do. When I run 16 miles and I never run 2.5 or 3, changed my identity. Plus, I'd conditioned myself for hour after hour after hour of running. I wasn't running fast, but I didn't stop. And that whole mindset that I won't stop. To this day, I created this Tony Robbins guy. I am Tony Robbins. It's who I am. But I brought these parts of myself to the surface by doing it. And then I started, I had no money. So I created this incantation. And I'd say, I now command my subconscious mind to direct me in helping as many people as possible today by giving me the strength, the emotion, the persuasion, the humor, the brevity, whatever it takes to help them change their life now. That's what I did when I went to work for Jim Rohn. I did it every day, multiple times. I get in my car. I remember I worked for Jim Rohn, and I'd put people in his seminar. He had a 3-hour seminar. And then I'd follow up with the people and meet him at Denny's and have lunch and say, Mr. Rohn wants to find out what you got of the seminar, what you plan to do with it, and have us show you some ways to implement. And my goal was to help them go to this weekend program. He called it Leadership. And I went to it. I had no money. I went to bank after bank after bank to try to get the money and found out they don't give money, people don't want it. But I eventually got $1,200. That'd be $10,000 today in U.S. currency, to give you an idea, compared to 1977 when I did this. And I went to this seminar because I invested so much in it, I believe, so I convinced other people to do it. And when I ran out of leads, I went to the people in the office and said, I don't want any money. I just want to help more people. If you've got leads, I'll go with you and convince them to come to his leadership program. And I would get on my old Volkswagen. Up at this point, I had this old 1968 Volkswagen, Baja Bug, and I'd drive 45 minutes to an appointment. And the whole time, I'd be yelling at the top of my lungs. I now command my subconscious mind to direct me, to help this person, to change their life for the better, give them the strength, the emotion, the persuasion, the humor, the bravery, whatever. And I did this over and over for 45 minutes before I get there. And people driving by probably thought I was a serial killer screaming at the top of my lungs like this, right? But listen to me, when two people meet, if there's rapport, and that's an important if there's respect, if there's rapport, if there's connection, the person who's most certain will influence the person who's less certain. And I literally closed every single person that I sat down with. I'm not exaggerating. Anybody can tell you. I have a friend, Mike Keys, who was there 44 years ago, and he'll tell you it's true. Because I just created such certainty. So then I wanted to do it with abundance. So I'd say God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. And I imagine abundance of love, abundance of joy, abundance of impact, abundance of economic freedom, abundance of health and strength. God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, my desires, and goals are met instantaneously by infinite intelligence, for I am one with God, and God is everything. Amen. I would do that for an hour for decades. I still do. I now command my subconscious mind before I walk out, always. And it's not like I need it. It's just in me. So I'm ready to serve. I don't hope I'm going to be in that place. I command. If you want a new identity, there are multiple ways to get there. The easiest way, conditioning yourself, but the most powerful way is get yourself to do things you wouldn't normally do, and your brain will go, aha. That's why we do like the wood breaking at Unleash the Power Within, or the live event we do the fire walking. By the way, wood breaking sometimes scares people more. You get a big guy, and I showed him karate style how we're going to do this, and if he winds up and hits this, it's not a pleasant experience. And I'll get a younger person, I get them to do it right, and boom, they explode through it and blows their mind. Because when you do something you once thought was difficult or impossible, it expands your identity. You go, if I could do that, what else could I do that's been holding me back? So most of what I try to do with people is give them experiences. That's what we do in a live event. All these experiences that change your identity because you are doing things, you are feeling things, you are experiencing things you never have before, and your brain starts to go, that's who I am. And when it goes, that's who you are, the whole world opens up. If this makes sense to you, make some noise so I know you get it out there, ladies and gentlemen. Bring some energy. And move your body for a moment. You've been sitting too long. I want you to dance like you're a little crazy. Dance like you're a little insane. Make a sound that unleashes you. Make a sound that feels good and unleashes you. I like your outfit there, Jeffrey. That's the energy of Cesara. Nice, Darlene. Great energy there, Ricky. Yes! High fives or fist bumps, virtual or in person. Get a quick sip of water so you stay hydrated. Quick sip of water. And then once you got your water, once again, crank your energy in your chair so you link to your chair strong energy. Wake it up. Come on. If you're feeling better than before, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. So you can expand your identity also by the way you move. Do you know your movement teaches you who you are as well? So if you're more hesitant, like, let's do this. All right, well, let me think about it. You do that with your body. Remember, like when someone's depressed, they have a certain physiology, a certain way their head, a certain breathing. If someone's uncertain. But even if you're like afraid, but you just get up and say, let's do this. And you start to do it, your body will change your mind. Remember what we showed you yesterday about those power postures with Harvard? Just standing a certain way alone, breathing that way for 2 minutes, change hormonally? And change your willingness to do something? Well, when you add sound and dynamic movement, it explodes through the roof instead of just static. It goes even more accelerated. So one of the things that happens during the live seminar is, we're going not 2 hours here sitting on your chair. The reason is most people would never dream of going past a 3-hour movie and they'd be bored or they leave. But we do 12 hours pretty much every day, 10, 12 hours almost every day, sometimes 13. And we have people all over the world now because of the way we do them virtually as well. And they're in every time zone. Like we start here at 10 a.m. and my Australian friends start at midnight. And they'll go from midnight to 1 the next day. And they're just full of energy. And we do it again and again, 3 or 4 days. Well, when you do it for 3 or 4 days in your body and you train your body, see, most people have a dirt road to happiness and they got a highway to stress. And that's in your body. And then it becomes your identity. But what you can do is retrain your body so you got a highway to happiness. That's where you naturally go, or strength, or passion, or determination. And a dirt road to pissed off, or frustrated, or depressed, or worried. That's how we create lasting change. We change the body and the identity. The combination is priceless. So now I'm going to give you a tool right now called 5 to Thrive. And it's just one of the ways I've tried to simplify the complexity of what I've learned about human beings. Like when someone comes to me, I get the call literally when the athlete's burning down on national television and I got to change them right now. And the whole world knows I'm working with that person at the time. Or I get the call when, the child or the adult is suicidal. And I got to do something right now. Otherwise it's over. And many of you have seen, if you've seen my documentary or you've seen some of the work of Robbins of Adonis, we've got hundreds of films of showing us turning around, but then following up 3 and 5 years later and seeing the change lasted. So, it really worked. Or I get that, phone call, like I said, from the President of the United States, right? Says, tomorrow morning, they're going to impeach me. And so I've had to learn tools where I can help people quickly and also where I can diagnose what the problem is. Because when people tell you their story, they get so caught up in the emotion and the story that the story becomes their identity. Does that make sense? And so I have to break through that shit and get to the core of what controls you. So there's 5 things that if you run these right, you will have an extraordinary life. I call them the 5 to Thrive. Let's walk through them. So the first thing that affects how you feel, and by the way, the emotional state you're in consistently is the quality of your life. Remember we said yesterday, the quality of my life is the quality of where I live emotionally. Some people have an emotional home where they consistently are pissed off or worried. Some people are playful or funny or determined no matter what happens. we all develop an identity for how we live and who we are, and that controls our emotions as well. So if we want to change how we feel, by the way, how many think changing how you feel in a few seconds for real would be one of the most valuable tools of life here? Make some noise if you agree with me on this, all right? So let me give you the triangle that is the base of how to change how you feel no matter what's going on in your life. No matter how bad it is or good it is, here's how you can shift it. The first element is called the pattern of your physiology. So the physiology is a big word. It just means the way you use your physical body, the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you gesture, the tempo of your voice, the volume of your voice. All of these things affect your biochemistry. Of course, what you eat, whether you sleep, whether you're hydrated enough or not, all affects physiology. So that's one of the reasons I make sure people are hydrated, they drink more water, because most people, when they think they're hungry, they're actually thirsty. The apostat is right next to the part of the brain where water is, but water's a higher priority. But most people get confused, and so they eat. Most people, when they're dehydrated, the brain starts to conserve and they don't get thirsty, so you want to drink more. But whether you drank enough or anything, you can instantly change how you feel by a dynamic change in your physiology, in the way you move. In fact, you have more than 37 muscles in your face. And for most people, this is the largest area of unemployment in the country, right? Because they make the same faces every day, and so they feel the same feelings every day. Try something just for a second. If there's someone nearby, you can look at them. Otherwise, just do it to the camera. I want you just for 20 seconds, I want you to do facial aerobics. Do as many different facial expressions as you can. Let's try it. Let's see. Come on. Different facial expressions. So we want to loosen our face, we want to use it in different ways, and you'll discover you have habits of how you use your face, and those habits directly correspond to the emotions you feel, right? It's pretty obvious when the face is coming down, you're going to feel very different feelings than the face is moving up in any direction, biochemically. But it's also true of your posture or your movements. So we talked about it yesterday. If there's a depressed person, where their shoulders down, where's their head down, breathing shallow. They talking loud and fast? No, quiet, slow, more measured. And you know this because you've been there. But if you take that person, bring their shoulders back, breathe more rapidly, or more deeply, I should say, talk a little bit more rapidly, gesture with more certainty, bam, their entire biochemistry changes like that. So, and the more you make it your habit to move these ways or use your voice, and again, I'm not saying like me, everybody has your own experience, but again, you go, I'm not like that. Sounds like we're bumping up against an old identity. When did you decide who you are? And you locked it down that long and you haven't continued to expand who you are? That's where our limitations bump in. So remember, our physiology is the first thing. If you're pissed off or you're excited, you're doing something very different in your physiology. Right now in your physiology, just get excited. Use your body and create a sense of excitement with your face and voice. Go ahead, face and voice. Now, just for contrast, sit in your chair the way you would be if you were kind of bored and tired. Bored, tired. Yeah, just feel that. Notice where's your head? Where's your shoulders? What's happened to your face? What's happened to your breathing? Now, do bored and tired and add pissed off to that too. Let's mix them together. Bored, tired, and a little pissed off. Now, we're going to play a game. It's called a snap exercise. Let's see how fast you can snap out of that into a totally outrageous, playful, excited state. Ready? Snap out of it, go! You can train yourself so that, by the way, I want you to notice, you could be going to a seminar or speech. You could come here and the speaker, I could be totally boring. And you don't have to be bored. You could be sitting here going, isn't it amazing how he's able to bore so many people simultaneously? Right? Your body and your focus, which we'll get to in a moment, and your language, that triad, that's the triangle we're going through here, that's what controls how you feel. So in a moment, a radical change in your body will make a radical change in your emotion. You make a little change, you get a little response. Sometimes when we're doing the fire walk with people, for example, you'll see people and they come up to the fire and they're in good shape. Yes, yes. And then all of a sudden the fire's in front of them and it's, 1,200, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit and they feel it and it's their turn. And suddenly they go, no, I can't do it. Ah! And I look at them and say, I know you can't in this moment, but do something different. Take a nice deep breath in, blow it out hard, do it again. Say yes, yes, say yes, yes. And they go, yes. And I go, and they just go. 2 seconds ago, it was impossible. But when they make a radical change in their physiology, now they're certain and they do it. So you can change that quickly. And I'll prove it to you. You ever been, let's say I'll give you another example first. Let's first, just for a second, just for fun, let's do the snap exercise 5 or 6 times real quick. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to get really excited, energized as much as you can, use your voice and your body. And then I'm going to go, get bored and tired. You're going to go bored and tired. And then I go, energize. And you go, energize. Bored and tired. Energize. Bored and tired. Energize. And we'll do it fast so that after a while, your body, when it goes bored and tired, wants to get energized. Let's play with it just for 20 seconds. Who's up for it here? Say I. All right, ready? Get energized, everybody. Go! Make some noise! All right, bored and tired instantly. Bored, tired, a little frustrated. Peak state instantly as fast as you go. Bored and tired. Peak state instantly go. Bored and tired. Peak state instantly go. Bored and tired. Peak state instantly go. Peak state all the way. All the way. Now, if that feels good, say yes. Say yes. Say yes. By the way, do you think you could train yourself so that when you start to feel like crap, you snap into a great state? Could you do it enough times till it got conditioned? Yes or no? Which one? Yes or no? Of course. And that's what we do when we get you 4 or 5 days in a row. You don't have a choice. And it starts to feel so good. In the beginning, it feels weird. But after a while, it becomes addictive. And then your nervous system goes there. And then your identity changes also. So you can hit your identity from multiple locations. And then that's a different world. Now, that's physiology. Change it radically, you're going to have a radical change. Some people, they get up to the firewalk or the wood breaking. They're like, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. And then they go, all right, I'm a little scared. I'm going to hurt my hand or I'm going to hurt myself on the fire. But Mr. Robbins said I should change my state. Okay. Shit, it didn't work. It didn't work. Because they didn't make it strong enough. Got to make a radical change. Yes. And your brain goes, holy shit, we mean it. We're going. We're doing this. Right? So now let me give you the second element that controls how you feel every moment you're alive. It's controlling what you're feeling right now. It's what you focus on. Write down focus equals feeling. Whatever you focus on, you're going to feel. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. You're going to feel it. So you got to control what you focus on, and most people don't. If you think about, if you turn on the news, depending on which channel, most channels, for the last 2 years, what are they selling you? The world's over. Fear. You're going to die if someone breathes on you. For a disease that, unless you're older or you've got major comorbidities, your chance of survival is like 99.7%. But the fear overcomes people, and it gets addictive because it's a drama. So whatever you focus on, you're going to feel, whether it's true or not. If you think, let's say you're supposed to, meet somebody for dinner, and you get there at 7 o'clock when they're supposed to be there and they're not there, what do you feel? Well, if some people say they're pissed off, some people say they're worried. Same event. What's the difference? What they focused on in their head. If it's 7:30, they're still not there and haven't called or text. Now what are you feeling? Some people go really angry. Some people go really worried. Well, if you think the person's out screwing around with somebody else and you picture that, you're going to be pissed off or hurt. If you think the person was in a car accident, you're going to be worried. So what we focus on controls our life. And most of us let other people control our focus, especially now that we have a phone in our pocket that's no longer a phone. It's a device that follows us with information that people want to interrupt us with, because we're no longer in an information society. I hope you realize that. There's too much information. We're drowning in information. We're starving for wisdom. So today, it's not an information society. There's too much. Now it's an attention society. Facebook wants your attention. If you watch the social, what's it called? Not network, the Social Dilemma? Yeah, that documentary. Who saw The Social Dilemma? Anybody seen it out there? These people have wired you like a rat with dopamine. They know if they reinforce what you believe, like you go on Google and you say climate change, they've tracked everything you've done. If they think you believe climate change is an effort, you're going to get everything we're going to die in 12 years, AOC telling you you're going to die. And if you think climate change is definitely happening, but maybe it's human and it's happened throughout history, then you're going to get different information. They reinforce you and then they anger you. That's why there's so much division. There's an entire science to how to keep you online longer. Every moment you're online, they're making more money. Same reason why they use clickbait. A lot of times the headline, if you actually read the article, it's not true. But they know what headlines are going to cause you to follow. So we're in an attention society. And if you don't take control of your own attention, someone else is going to control it. And I promise you, they don't have your best interest at mind. So we have to decide. So let me give you 3 patterns, or let me give you 2 patterns or examples. Here's one. Do you tend to focus most of the time more on what you have or what's missing? I want you to write it in the chat box for me. I know you do both, but most of the time, especially these days, what do you focus on? What you have or what's missing? Missing, have, missing, have, missing, have, missing, have, have, missing, missing. It's about 80% missing. Now, I want you to think about this. If your pattern of focus is on what's missing from your life, no matter how great your life is, how are you ever going to sustain happiness? You can't. Write down this. Focus equals feeling. If you want to feel different, you got to change your focus. What's wrong is always available, isn't it? There's always something wrong if you look for it. So is what's right. And unless you control your focus, the rest of the world's going to take you where you want to go. So part of what I train people to do, not just by telling you like we're doing it right now, so I never see you again, you know what to do. The purpose of a 4-day immersion is you're going to do it day and night, night and day. It's like if I said to all of you right now, how many of you studied a language, a foreign language in high school or college? Raise your hand, give me a little notes. Put it in the chat if you did so I know. Great. And so how many of you now still speak that language fluently? Let me see your hands. It's ridiculous. Do you know why? Because you learned a little bit at a time and you don't retain that. If I wanted you to learn Italian, if you said, I want to learn Italian, and you have the time, I'd take you to Rome and drop you off for 6 weeks. So I'll pick you up in 6 weeks. With no teacher, you will come back speaking Italian. How many know that's true? Say, aye. Because you're seeing it, feeling it, immersing it. So right now I'm giving you bite-sized chunks. I'm not holding back, as you can tell. I got to get back on target. I'm a little bit over time right now again. But I want you to understand these need to be conditioned in you. And you can do it on your own. You can do it with me. I'm not vested except you getting results. So you got to train it into yourself. If you train the right focus, you're going to have an extraordinary life. Do you tend to focus more on what you can control or can't control? Which one do you put it in the chat? Which one do you tend to focus on more, especially during COVID here? Can or can't? Can, can't, 50-50, can't. So it's pretty split. See, if you focus on what you can't control and you focus on what's missing, you're going to be angry, sad, depressed, or overwhelmed. How many can see that? It doesn't matter who you are. It's like software. You follow me? It has nothing to do with your intelligence or your skill or your goodness. If we have that program running our brain, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be angry. You're going to be overwhelmed. And when we change that, everything changes. So physiology is the first thing we change, focus, and then here real quick, the last one is language. Because language/meaning, language creates meaning. Write this down if you would, please. Meaning equals emotion, and emotion equals life. The meaning we give things creates what we feel, our emotions, and our emotions control what we do and therefore creates our life. Plus, it's the quality of our life is how we feel. Like I said, you could have $1 billion, but if every day your emotional habit is being pissed off and frustrated, your life's called pissed off and frustrated. It doesn't matter if you have $1 billion or whether you have a ton of people that love you or not. Does that make sense? So our language is another pattern that powerfully shapes us. So remember I gave you the example, if your parents said to you, go get me the salt, I don't know what the salt is, I don't know what the salt is, I don't know what the salt is. Well, you say that language all over again and you hypnotize yourself not to see the salt. Some of you have certain words you use a lot that make you feel a certain way, or phrases. And if you use that phrase over and over again, you're going to feel that emotion. So we have to be conscious that our words create feelings. If you said to me, Tony, you meet millions of people. I'm single. You meet a lot of cool people. You know, hook me up with somebody. Turn me on to somebody, a great lady, a great guy. And if I said to you, I know this woman, I know this man, and they're really nice. Versus I know this man or woman, they're hot, right? You're going to get a different emotion. Is this food, nutritious or delicious? One word change, you completely change how you feel. And we have words we use for ourselves that shape our identity. How you describe yourself with words affects that emotion. It affects your physiology. Your physiology, your focus, and your language, all three come together to shape how you are. Now, I could do more on this, but we're out of time. And how many get the basic fundamentals here? That if you want to change how you feel, by the way, write this down. Write this down if you would. Physiology first. If you want to change how you feel, the fastest way to change is a radical change in your body. Because if you try to do it with your mind, very often you go in circles. But if you start with the body, it gets you strong. Now it's easier to change focus, easier to change language, easier to change your life. If you do these three things, you can feel the way you want every day. By the way, could all hell be breaking loose around you and you be right here in your home or in your life centered and happy? Is it possible to be happy while hell's breaking loose around you? Yes or no? Yes or no? Of course it is. But, and you do it by changing your focus and your physiology and your language. But you and I live in a Western culture where if you sit around and just feel happy, people come and take your furniture, right? So you got to master the outside world too. Now, I can teach you these three things, but what you need to do is get them in your body, right? So that's why I do an event, or you can do on your own. But there's two more keys for this to really work. These are the fundamentals that control how you feel. But whether you're willing to change your physiology, whether you're willing to change your focus. Like sometimes when you're in a shitty state, you go, I don't care. I don't want to change how I feel. Why not? Because you're missing the other two elements. So we'd put a circle around the triangle to finish this 5 to thrive. And the two most important elements to get you to do this is you need to create what I call a compelling future. A reason to use these skills. Anyone can deal with a terrible today if they've got an exciting tomorrow they're looking forward to. We can all deal with suffering if we can see there's an end to that suffering, and more importantly, the other side can be joy or happiness or love or success. I mean, the only way you build a business, the only way you break through anything, by the way, tomorrow I'm going to show you how to build your own economy, whether it's within your own career or your own business. And I'm going to bring you some pretty cool people, one of which is the first youngest self-made female billionaire who built a company called Spanx. So they'll be joining us tomorrow as well. But just because we're going to go to another subject tomorrow. Each day will be a new subject to stack. But we need these two to be locked in place so we can use the things that help us make money or help us have great relationships, et cetera, right? So a compelling future means something you're looking forward to. Something that gets you up early and keeps you up late. A reason, strong enough reasons, a purpose. And you have to have a vision for it. And one of the biggest problems with COVID is they gave us no way to say when we're ever out of this. Like now, people are starting to say, I'm done with it. And, the UK just said no more mask mandates, no more vaccine mandates. The Pfizer advisor that used to be head of the FDA 2 days ago said, we got to stop the mask mandates now. We've turned the corner. But then other people say, pushing back, no, everyone's going to die. We got to stay in. Yes, we're all going to die eventually. 1,200 people die a day around the world in car accidents, but we still get in our car and drive. Why? Because we have a compelling future, because we know if we just stay home and do nothing, we got no future. And by the way, how do people drive their car down a highway with nothing but a dotted yellow line dividing them from people driving straight at them at 65 miles an hour? How the hell do we do that? When every day we know people die. Every day we know someone's texting and they kill someone, or they fall asleep at the wheel, or they're drunk. Happens every day all over the earth. And we know it. So how do we go out and drive? Because life is risky. But we don't focus on the risk. We focus on a life, a compelling future, and we use the F word that every religion agrees with, faith. Now, you don't have to develop faith, my friends. If you got a compelling future, it'll kick in. You were born with faith. Faith says, look, it's much more likely than not, this is all going to work out. So I just trust and I do something rather than sit in my head and imagine all the risks. Risk has become the ultimate four-letter word in our culture. The people that settled America would be, I don't know what they do. They'd be devastated to see what Americans have become, some of them. Living in fear every moment over being around another human. Life is risky. Getting in business is risky. Getting in a relationship's risky. But if you don't take the risk, you don't feel alive. Who's with me on this? Say I. Say I. By the way, I'm not saying take stupid risks and be dumb. And if you want to wear a mask or you want to do whatever you want to do, I'm not against vaccination. It's not a description of that. I'm describing life to you. That at some point, you got to decide to live your life. Who agrees with me on this? Say I. So the way you get yourself to do that is two ways. You get a compelling future. You start to imagine what you want to create, even though it's not here yet. And every day you imagine it more detailed. Where I am right now with you, I envisioned when I was 17 years old. I don't mean in this room. I don't mean online like this. I mean being able to serve people all over the earth. I envision it every day till it became so certain in me and my brain that your brain starts to create it. Some of you are familiar with how that brain does it. It's called the reticular activating system. Once your brain locks in, it tries to find a way to get there subconsciously. And then the last one, I got to wrap up because I've gone way over, is identity, which is what we started with. Because you know what will get you through the tough times? Is the identity that I'm more than anything that could ever be done to me or anything in the environment. In fact, if you want to know what the history of the world looks like, it's pretty easy. I'll give you an example. In America, we have a generation we call the greatest generation or the great generation. It's a World War II generation. They were born in 1910. I want you to think for a second about patterns, right? We talk about patterns. If you were born in 1910 as a child, World War I was ending. You grew up as the world looked like it was coming to a whole new place. We went into the roaring 20s. And all of a sudden, people had cars. It was exciting, new technology. It was an amazing time to be alive. And you're just a teenager, and you're dreaming of when you're going to turn 19, 20, 21, right? Become an adult, and you're going to get a car, and you're going to go to parties, and you're going to have this great time. But if you were born in 1910, you turned 19 in 1929. Where all of a sudden, all over the earth, euphoria was gone. All over America, euphoria was gone. People jumping out of buildings, the Great Depression. There were food lines just to have some bread and soup. We had the big dust bowl in the middle of the country. Everything looked like it was over and destroyed. And these kids, like today's millennials, you out there, my millennials, some of the millennials out there, some people that are the X generation or boomers, they look down on you sometimes. They talk about, everything the millennials about, I got to have a safe space, because that's what you were taught, which is absurd. There is no safe space. There's only safe space. You make it safe within you, but trying to make the world support you, anyone who's older knows that's not sustainable. But if you're young, you probably still think it could be done, especially if you're at a university. And so a lot of times, they look at you, the term they use for them is snowflakes. Right? And Z generation's so young, they're now attacking online. You see them arguing with millennials going, you're old millennials. Millennials used to go, boomers are old, right? And they go, you part your head on the side instead of the middle. It's funny what's happening between these generations. I'm sure you've seen online these arguments between these two generations. But so these generations to the older generations look like they're weak and pampered because they are. They haven't gone through a real war, right? Their war is going home and, being afraid of COVID. That's real different than somebody dropping bombs around your bullets past your head. And so what's happened is they're not weak because they're not strong people. The kids in 1910 were called flappers. They were weak. They were self-absorbed. They were not respected by the older generation. But here's what happened. They went through hell and they got stronger. And that's what's about to happen with us as well. It's happened a little bit here with COVID, but we're not done. There are seasons of history. There's spring times when it's easy for 10, 20 years. There's summers, it's hot and difficult, a lot of internal unrest. There's falls when you can get a house even though you don't have a job, right? And the stock market goes crazy. And there's winter where it feels like nothing's working. It feels like it's forever, but winter isn't forever. Some winters are long, some are short, but they don't last. But they make you stronger if you survive. If you don't survive, it's a different story. So what happened? These people turned 19 and they came of age in the toughest time in history and they got stronger. By the time they were 29, you think they'd get relief. At 29, World War II took off. And most of us in this room weren't alive then, but if you were, it looked like the world as we know was over. Hitler was destroying Europe, bombing the UK, rolling over countries. But this generation got stronger. And they won the war and came back and became heroes and known as the Great Generation. And if you think about the 40s of World War II versus the 50s up until the early 60s when Kennedy was assassinated, it was a different time. It was an up time, springtime. And then there's the hot summer when Kennedy gets shot and Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and fights between generations. Think about how different the 60s and then the 70s were than the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And now we're in winter again, in case you haven't figured it out. But winter, some people die, some people freeze to death, some people ski, snowboard, some people build a new business, some people get closer to their family. You get to decide how to use winter, and it's not forever. And if you do well in winter, you'll be great in the springtime. Are you hearing me on this? So I want you to get something here. It's really important. Here's the history of the world. Good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times, the history of the world shows this, create strong people. And strong people create great times. Now, you don't have to, and by the way, and strong people great times often create another generation that's weak initially. This is the history of the world. This is how humans operate. Now, you can break out of it by being strong now, no matter what season it is, and taking care of it. And the way you do it is a compelling future, a strong identity, and every day, stronger physiology, focus, and language. If this makes sense, if you're excited about applying this to your life, let me hear from you so I know you got it out there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, stand up just for a second because you've been sitting a while and I got my last piece to give you. I'm going to enjoy. Shake your body out, face somebody, and now dance them. Dance like you're a little crazy, a little insane. Go! Assignment. It's not on here. Make a little noise that makes you feel great. What the hell's assignment? All right. Whoa. Yes. Or fist bumps, virtual or in person. You know the drill. Sit down in a strong state. Strong. Take a big sip of water. I'll join you. And then In your chair, create that energy again. Go! Okay, we've covered a lot, but I want to give you one last piece so you can activate this. I hope what you got now is the power of understanding how to create breakthroughs from yesterday, and you really understand there's different parts of you can help create a breakthrough when you get stuck. Go to my lover, go to my warrior, go to my king or queen. Right? Go to my magician and change it just like that so you can get new resources. I hope you understand now. It's state first, then the story, then the strategy. Strategies are amazing. Some strategies can save you a decade. I'm a strategist, but you got to do the first two or the strategy doesn't get implemented. And I hope what you're getting from today is the most powerful force on earth is how I define myself, because I'm going to stay consistent with it. If I think I'm a loser, I'm going to find ways to lose. If I think I'm a winner, I'm going to find ways to win. And it's not that simplistic. I got to condition it. I got to train it. But that force is there, and I'm usually judging myself by my actions. So maybe it's time to just do something spontaneously or do things that are really hard. And after I did it, I'll see myself differently. And my identity will expand from 68 to maybe 98. And now I can keep the changes without sabotaging. Is this making sense? If it is, say aye. And then there's this core 5, this 5 to thrive. If I don't like the way I feel, radical change in my body and it will, with my voice, my body, my gesture. You've been doing it here. Right now, get in a state of excitement. Instantly go. Use your body. Use your body. Go, go, go. Come on. And notice, the more you do it, pretty soon you can start wiring yourself. It feels great to just spontaneously feel good instead of what most people feel, right? It's habits. It's habits of physiology. It's the habits of focus. It's the habits of language. It's creating that compelling future. And it's owning my identity and expanding my identity so I know who I am, even if it's difficult. I know I'm more than what's happening. I'll find the way. I always have, always will, or I'll be guided, or I trust in God. Whatever that core is for you, that's what will get you there. So how do you build an identity where it affects you in your career or in your business? Like, how does a business build an identity? There we call identity what? Brand. And we know branding is powerful. We know that people will get on their knees at a 7-Eleven and reach behind everything else to get a Coca-Cola. In fact, years ago, there was an interesting experience. There used to be this Pepsi challenge. How many old enough to remember the Pepsi challenge on television? Any of you? Pepsi did some homework and found out that people were addicted to Coke because it was the biggest brand, but people actually liked the flavor of Pepsi better. So they did these blind test challenges, and then they'd reveal which one it was, and Pepsi won like 2/3 of the time. And the ads were so good, and they also connected their brand. At that time, the biggest star in the world was Michael Jackson. He was revered, and Michael Jackson did ads for them, and they brought young, hip people, and they called Pepsi for the new generation, not you old people over there at Coca-Cola. And it started to work, and they started to get a bigger and bigger bite of Coca-Cola. And then Coca-Cola made the dumbest mistake probably in advertising in the last 50 years. They decided to change their formula and come up with new Coke. And when they did it, it was a total disaster. People got angry because they were so associated to the identity that I'm a Coke drinker. What the hell are you doing with this new Coke? Because Coca-Cola was America, red, white, and blue, right? Santa Claus, for God's sakes. This is Coke. We're America. And what are you doing with this newfangled Coke? It didn't work for those people. And so, after a huge failure, they managed to pull out a success because they're Coke, and they came back with classic Coke, right? They brought back the original formula, and all those people were happy again, and they kept new Coke to try and compete with Pepsi. And then Pepsi lost steam when Michael Jackson wasn't popular and so forth, and they really haven't returned to the same level. So, having said that, let's play for a moment. I want you to, if you got a pen or paper, you got your little computer there, don't answer mentally. I want you to write down the answer to 3 quick questions, real fast, okay? One of them I shouldn't have told you the story about because it's kind of there, but let's just do it anyway. I want you to write down the name, and so whatever pops in your mind, of a soft drink, the first one that pops in your mind. If I hadn't told you the story, what's the first one that pops in your mind? Okay? Just do it real quick. First one that pops in your mind. And then I want you to write down the name of a large computer company, first computer company that you think of that pops in your mind. Large computer company. And then I want you to write down the name of a search engine, first search engine that pops in your mind. Name of a search engine. Okay? And then I see many of you putting it in the chat already. I was just having you write it for you, but thanks for doing it. But let's go back and let's compare. So let's start with the soft drink company. Unfortunately, I told you that story a little bit, so it may have influenced, but hopefully you thought of whatever you normally would think of regardless of the story. How many thought of Coca-Cola as the first name you thought of? Raise your hand, make some noise, and show me, type it in if that was it for you. Yeah, it's about 95% of the people I can see visually raising their hand. Now, I mentioned Coca-Cola and Pepsi, but did you know there's more than 1,200 different soft drinks out there? But Coca-Cola has a goal, I don't remember what it is. They want to have so many of the ounces of fluid you take in every day for every human on earth. That's their goal, and they've done pretty well. When I said a large computer company, type down which one did you come up with. Write it down so I can see which company did you come up with. You see Apple, Mac, Apple, that's Mac, Dell, Apple, IBM, Dell, HP, IBM, Apple. 80% Apple. Raise your hand if Apple was the first one you thought of. Make some noise. Raise your hand if you thought of Dell. Raise your hand if you thought of Dell. Look what a small number it is. Raise your hand if you thought of HP. Such a small number. Apple completely dominates the marketplace. Completely. Right? Microsoft, some people wrote, that's not a computer, it's software, but it's still not it. And what companies do you think of when I said, what's the search engine? How many of you thought of DuckDuckGo? Google, DuckDuckGo, AOL, Google, Safari, Google. Google wins like 98% of all searches. Now, these companies own a piece of your brain. They are the identity for the category. Apple, for most people, is the identity of the category. Google owns the category. Coke owns the category. How many of you, some people say, could you give me a Kleenex? The people at Scott Tissue go crazy. It's not Kleenex, it's tissue. Or some people still say, would you FedEx this? Which means overnight it. And the people over at UPS go berserk. Because FedEx got it in your mind as the first one. See, when you own a portion of the person's brain, you literally become the dominant company in the world in that area. But you and I can also do that with your own business or your own career. You can develop an identity in your company as the person who is whatever, the most dedicated, the most intelligent in this area, who knows this category best. My friend Peter Guber, who now, owns multiple sports teams. He owns the Warriors, he owns the LA Dodgers, we own together the LAFC football club, the soccer club, and Major League Soccer in LA. He's made 52 Academy Award. Now, he's got everything you can imagine. But it started out where he developed himself as a young guy that knew about VHS before anybody else knew much about it. And he wrote articles about it, and he became known for it. And then pretty soon, when so much business was moving in that area, he became president of Columbia Pictures. And I think he was like 32 years old because he had a brand that people wanted. And they competed to get him because he had information in a category that was growing, and everybody wanted that. All right? So you can do this in any area. So I want you to understand, if you in real estate, and you're in real estate, you could own the identity in that farm. Most people in real estate have a farm, an area that they work to get leads and to sell houses and to list houses. You could become the name that everybody thinks of you in that area. It doesn't have to be international or national. I knew early on I wanted to serve as many human beings as I could. It was my obsession to light people up. It still is. I don't have to work another day of my damn life. And I work harder now than ever before because it's who I am. It's what I'm made for. But I knew early on my ideas were going to die on my lips unless I became a brand. And by the way, how many of you, when you heard about this challenge, how many of you had not been to a program of mine before, but you said, I want to figure out more about this. I've heard good things about this guy. How many heard good things about me before you ever signed up or got here? Let me see a show of hands, right? And the way you build your brand, I'm going to give you 5 steps right now. You can build your brand within a company. You can build your brand for your own little company. But think of brand as an identity. People, once they identify who you are in their mind, even if they're wrong, that's how they're going to deal with you. I saw one guy on his breakthrough pieces said that he tried a bunch of things in personal development and he, hated me. He never met me, never did a program, hated me, never wanted to do anything with me. But somebody kind of dragged him here. And last night he had this beautiful breakthrough. I'm acknowledged. I think his name was John. John, I acknowledge it. But, he had a negative identity. People are controlled by the identities or brands they have, but you can help shape it. How? Let me give you 5 quick steps because we're about out of time. 1, you got to understand the true power of identity. You got to understand that identity controls the way people think and feel, and it shapes what they do. If you understand how powerful it is, you'll start to invest time and energy to build it. And then 2, once you know it's that powerful, you got to go to the second step, which you got to identify and start to articulate what's your competitive advantage. Now, for time's sake, I'm not going to do it, but when I have live seminars, I'll walk up to somebody and I'll say, tell me what your business is and tell me why should I buy from you versus someone else? And I put somebody on the spot. And invariably, the person gets a little nervous, which is natural, right? You're in front of, 10,000, 15,000 people, whatever the number is. And what happens? They say what they normally say. Well, we're the best because we give good service. Well, I ask the audience how many people are convinced by that. And you get 2 hands. Because everybody promises good service. If I asked any one of you right now, how many of you own your own business? Put it in the chat if you do. Let me see. Or raise your hand if you're in the Zoom room, you do. Yeah. Huge number of people, usually about 70%, 80% of my audience owns their own business. Or how many of you maybe not own your own business, but you manage and lead people in some enterprise? Somebody do that as well? Make some noise out there, right? So if I came to you and said, why should I buy from you versus someone else? What would you say? Most people, believe it or not, even people that are in sales or negotiations, sometimes CEOs, are not good at articulating it. They know all these things, but they've never taken the time to identify what's the shortest, most powerful way I can articulate what I'm here to do for you and what I'll do better than anyone else. And that's true whether you work in a company as an employee, you want to build an identity. You want people to articulate and people begin to link you to something. The expert in this, the best at that, the person who go-to finds the solution, the person who always finds whatever it is. But you can't build an identity unless you realize how powerful it is because you won't spend the time. And number 2, you can't do it till you start to identify and articulate. So I'm not going to do it now because we're out of time. But usually right now I'd have you write down. Tell me why I should buy from you versus someone else. Or tell me within the company, who are you really? Why does this company employ you? What's your competitive advantage? And usually I have people rewrite it again and again until they find something that isn't perfect. And that's part of going to be one of your assignments tonight, but really great. And then the third step for you is you got to begin to practice communicating that congruently. Meaning it's one thing to write it down. It's another to start to articulate. So in a live seminar, I'll have you with other people and you write it down, then you'll share it with people and they'll give you feedback. That was pretty crappy, or I like that part, but this part was pretty weak. I'll be honest with you. Maybe you ought to try this. And you refine and practice it so after a while, you don't have to think about it. You know how powerful it is. You know how to articulate it. You've done it. It's in your body. And then number 4 is really important. You got to live it. You can't just tell people this stuff. You got to walk your talk. My brand has been built on 45 years. This is my 45th year. It blows my mind. But 45 years of serving people in, 195 countries where it didn't matter if I was told I had a tumor in my brain, didn't matter if I had blood chemistry that was poisoned because I had mercury poisoning, it didn't matter if I was throwing up right before I walked out there. There's never a time, including here, where I won't give my all and over-deliver. That's just who I am. And so by doing that for decades, the word of mouth goes crazy. Remember, good news travels fast, bad news travels faster. And sometimes you have people that will try to hurt your brand just, because they're competitive or some other bullshit. But the truth, the great thing about social media is, people take over. And in my case, I've done this for all these decades. I got a lot of people I've touched in every generation. So you can build it, but you got to live it. It won't work just to articulate it and talk about it. You got to live it and you got to over-deliver. And then, most importantly, now that you're really living it, you got to market it. You got to put it out there. And today, there's so many ways to market. I'm not going to try and do that in this little session, but I want to give you just one example that maybe will stimulate you a little bit. And it's a fun example. So when I think I was 18 or 19 years old, I met a guy a little bit younger than I was. I think he was 16 or 17. His name was Mike Glickman. And we met because I was talking in some real estate offices, and this guy, Mike, was really passionate. He really loved real estate. Like, my vehicle was to help people. His way to help people is help them find their ideal home. And he was 16 and dreaming about this. So he didn't have a car yet, and he couldn't get a license because you can't get licensed to sell real estate until you're 18 in California. And so he wanted to be around real estate. That's how I met him. So he would go and take those little magazines. Now they have nice, slick ones. They used to be paper, like where they had a little booklet of all the stuff you could buy. And he would deliver it to people's homes for the realtors. They paid him an hourly wage or per unit. I forget what it was. Not a lot of money. He did it on his bike initially. And then he got his first car and he started delivering them. And then when he's 18, he got his license. And he decided that he wanted to sell real estate in a really upscale community. So he lived in Los Angeles in a place called the San Fernando Valley, and there's an upscale community called Encino. And so he did what all realtors do. They run ads, and they knock on doors to try and get listings, and they have open houses. But he was super young and looked super young in an upscale community. And I don't remember the exact number, but I believe in his first 9 months, maybe even 12 months, he literally made no sales. He's trying to make money on the side so he could live his dream. And so we had a conversation one time, and I said, you got to figure out why no one's buying from you, because you're smart and you're committed. And so I said, you got to ask people. Say, listen, I'm not pushing you. I'm not trying to sell you, but why'd you tell me no? Why'd you say no for me listing your house? And then you listed it with somebody else. And finally, a few people told him, you're just too young. You're not sophisticated. You don't have enough experience. And so he came back to me and said, Tony, he goes, how do I overcome this? I am young. I don't have the experience. I mean, it's like the chicken and the egg. By the time I'm older, I'll be broke. And I said, here's what you got to do. People remember experiences more than your words. I always tell people a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. You can believe what China's like, but if I take you to China, you're going to have a different experience, right? And experience is real. So right now they're judging you by your looks and by your age. And I said, I get the same thing. But what I overcome it with is give them an experience that's so profound, they don't give a shit what age I am anymore. So I said, you got to find a way to do something in your farm. Like, realtors have a certain number of streets and they work those streets as their community. And I said, you got to do something special. You got to create some experience for them so they know. And don't do it to get credit. Just do it because it's right. Maybe do several things. And gradually, people will think about you differently. It'll build your brand. Again, how did the Chinese convince them who they were? By what they did. Do some things. Give some things. Create some experiences. Don't just ask people for a listing. He goes, I don't know how to do that. I said, think about it. You'll find a way. And to his credit, one day he came back to me. He goes, I think I have an answer. I just don't know if I should do it. I said, what is it? He goes, well, right now, I don't know if you're aware of it, but in my part of LA here, there's a trash strike. All the guys who can pick up trash have been on strike for 6 weeks. And he goes, Tony, if you went through my community, it is filthy because the trash is not picked up and it builds up and then dogs get into it. And there's some areas where some rats have come. He goes, we've never seen that in the community ever. And people are pissed off because it smells and these are upscale people expecting to have pristine homes and it's filthy. And I don't know what the hell to do. And he goes, I finally got an idea. He goes, here's my idea. What if I hired like a private trash service to come in and take out everybody's trash? I said, I think that's brilliant. I said, but don't tell anybody you did it. He goes, don't tell anybody I did it. Well, then why would I do it? I said, it'll eventually get out. Don't do it for that reason. Do it to serve your community and do it sincerely. And people eventually find out what it is and it'll build your brand. I said, how much it cost? I don't know. So he did the homework and I don't remember the amount of money. I'm going to make it up. I think it was like $4,000, which to him would be like $100,000 then. And I said, I can't think of anything that would put you on the map faster than this. Plus, it's sincere. You thought of it. You thought about how to help your community. Go for it. So he did. So imagine this. Imagine you live in this upscale community, and for 6 weeks, every day you come home, it smells, and there's trash everywhere, and dogs and cats and shit around, and I mean, you're just frustrated as hell, and every day you come in, you sit down, you turn on the TV, and they go, it's day 31 of the trash strike, and one day you come home, and all the trash is gone. Make the sound how you feel if it's your community. Come on, make the sound. How are you going to feel? And so you're so happy, you're so grateful the trash strike is done. You sit down on your couch, you turn on the news, and they go, it's day 35 of the trash strike still. And you go, what? They're still on strike? Where's my trash? Who stole my trash? And so people started buzzing. Neighbors like, where'd the trash go? Did you see? No, this company came by and took the trash. And somebody called around, and eventually they found the name of the company, and then they told them that it was Mike. So some people started calling. His phone started ringing off the wall. Hey, are you the guy that did this? And he goes, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah. They go, oh my God, this is incredible. Why'd you do this? He goes, well, I'm a realtor, and this is our community, and it was horrible, and I thought it's something I could do to help the community. Well, listen, I want to pay my fair share. What percentage? And I told him in advance. I said, don't take anybody's money. I said, don't. He goes, well, Tony, I could defray some of my costs. I said, no, then it's no longer a gift. It's a transaction. I said, it's my gift to you. I will not take your money. Some people say, well, I got to do something for you. I said, well, you don't have to do anything for me, but, I'm a realtor in the area, so if you know anybody wants to list their home, or you want to list your home or sell their home, I hope you'll give my number. Here's my number. And the next 18 months, he went from selling nothing to make over $1.1 million in commissions, and only one person sold another home in that community by one move of building identity. Give it up for Mike Glickman, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, I was going to speak to this real estate group about 6 months ago. I thought, man, I wonder if he's still in the real estate business. And I looked up on the web, and he's still there. He still has his company, still crushing it. So my salute out to you, Mike. But I just want you to get, it doesn't take a lot of money. It's like you can try to run 1 million ads. It isn't just doing shit in social media. It's this core belief that I have in business, and we'll talk about this tomorrow in your career. Find a way to do more for others than anybody else, and you'll build a brand. Whether you're within a company as an employee, you'll become more valuable, or other companies won't want to take you, right? You can write your own ticket. But if you're going to build a brand, do more for others consistently, not one time, than anybody else does, and you will separate yourself from the pack, and you will build an identity, you will build a brand. By the way, wouldn't that be a great way to build your own identity, is just to start doing things for others for no good reason, except it's the right thing to do. And if they find out, great, and it's wonderful. But one of the great gifts of my life is there's 250,000 people every day that get fresh water in India, and their kids are alive. They don't know it's me. I don't ask them to. I don't tell them to put my picture up there. I know. So I define myself by that. I know that every single day, right, I'm providing 100 million meals. It started with me feeding 2 families, by the way. So you go, easy for you. When I had no money, fed 2 families, and then 4, and then 8, and then 16, and it just kept growing. I just kept doubling it up. Those people will never know it's me, why they're eating today, but I know. And so it enhances my identity. Do you follow me? And then I feel good about me, and as I feel good about me, I can do even more good. It's a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle. So think about, what are the things that you could go do that would change your identity? What's something you would never do, but if you did it, you'd go to another level? What's some story, I can't do it because I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy, I don't have this. And you go, bullshit, I'm just doing this. And you go out and do it, and the other side, you feel incredible. And as you do more and more things like that, all of a sudden your whole life will change. So how do you build an identity? Do something different. Do it different with your body. Do it different with your voice. Do it different with your actions. Be a little kind to yourself when you screw up, because we're all going to screw up. It's not like I succeed with everything. I've failed more times than you could possibly imagine. You may remember the old Nike commercial with Michael Jordan. He used to come out and say, I've missed 8,000 shots. I've missed, on the game buzzer 397 times. I've missed here. I've failed there. And that is why I succeed. It's not about not succeeding or succeeding every time. It's about just finding a way and knowing that it's not failure if you learn, pick yourself up and go again. So build yourself a brand. So what's going to be the exercise? I'll give you a little hint. How would you describe your old identity? Especially when you're frustrated. How would you describe your old identity? Who were you? What would you say you were, what you're like? And how does that identity need to expand into what you desire and deserve? And then your second part is going to be, who are you at your core? Who are you at your best? What is your new identity? A person who gives what, loves what, shares what, breaks through what limitations? I used to define myself this way. I used to say I'm a person that succeeds when it's easy, but when it's tough, I crumble, or I get overwhelmed or pissed off, or I'm a depressed person, or I'm lonely. Bullshit. That's the way I used to be. Who am I really at my spiritual core? Who am I at the level of my soul? Who am I at my best? Here's my new identity. Someone who isn't perfect but finds the way. Someone who gives, someone who grows, someone who loves, someone who's willing to take on a challenge, someone who's willing to push through their limitations. And I want you to put that on live on Facebook because it's inspiring to others. How many of you, by the way, watched other people's shares yesterday about their old story and their new story and what inspired you in some way? Raise your hand, make some noise so they hear you out there. And so I want to know what is your unique identity? What's special within you? And then how are you going to expand that here in 2022? And how's that going to change your life? So that's kind of the feel for it. All right. How many got a lot out of today's session here so far? All right, then stand up with some energy, ladies and gentlemen. Stand up with some energy. VIPs in about 5 minutes. Let me give you KK for both the prizes and the follow-up. Give it up for KK, everybody.
Thanks, Tony. Tony Robbins, everyone. Day 2, the Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge. And give it up for every single one of you for playing full out, for being amazing and wonderful. Come on, my friends. Break the energy. Keep it going. There you go. A great energy right there. Group 3. Yes, bros. You guys are off the charts. You found a new identity, didn't you? I'd like to do 2 things. Number 1, Tony Robbins, legendary Tony. You've been training with him now for not 1 day, but 2 days. Give it up for yourselves, your courage, your dedication, your openness. You guys are on fire. It's time for our daily wrap-up. I said it yesterday. I'm going to say it again. This is the most important integration component. It's not knowledge that gets you to your destination. It's the execution of the knowledge. Something Tony says often, jot this down, is execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. This is the point where you get to execute and do your daily challenge. So the assignment that you saw from Tony is asking yourself, what's your unique identity? How can you expand it? And how will this change your life? So the challenge. And just know, we're going to announce winners from yesterday at the end of this. So keep your energy up. We got 5 people winning some big prizes coming up literally in seconds, okay? But I want to give you your challenge for today. So today, please get your hands ready on the keyboard and type this in the chat box, is the identity challenge. Really simple, identity challenge, all one word, no spaces. Identity challenge. You learned today identity is the strongest force that drives human behavior. And you're going to ask yourself, what's your new 2022 identity? So that means you're going to go live in the Facebook group. Yes, you're going to pick up your phone. If you don't know how to go live, I saw some posts about that. You're going to click the discussion button and you'll see the camera, and you are going to put hashtag identity challenge inside the caption box, and then go live. You can update it before or after with that caption. You must use the hashtag for us to see your challenge video. Okay, part of the eligibility is the hashtag is in there. Hashtag identity challenge, and then you're going to go on a rant. YouTube's already ranting in the chat box right now. I mean, they're already doing it. What's your new 2022 identity? And you're going to go on a rant. No need to plan it out. You're just going to let it rip. What's your old identity? What's your new identity for 2022? Okay? Criteria. It's got to be under 2 minutes. If you go a little bit over, whatever. But keep it tight. Hashtag identity challenge must be in the caption. Let us know what was your old identity and what is your new identity for 2022. It is due by midnight Eastern time tonight, not tomorrow, this evening tonight, midnight Eastern time. We're looking for creativity, originality, playing full out, giving everything that you have, your willingness to let it rip. Okay, remember, execution trumps knowledge. So if you're someone right now that's like, I learned this today and I'm cool, I'm not going to do the challenge. You shouldn't be doing it for the prizes anyway, but those are pretty amazing. Today we're giving away 3 tickets to Unleash the Power Within and some swag boxes. So the prizes are off the charts, but do this for you. It's not for the likes. It's not for the how many comments. This is about you tracking your journey and being able to experience the training. So there's going to be 4 prize winners tomorrow. When you crush this challenge tonight, the hashtag identity challenge, someone is going to win a Tony Robbins swag bag. You're going to have some branded Tony Robbins gear, a Defy the Odds t-shirt. You're going to have a program from Tony's Breakthrough app, other surprise items shipped to your door. Someone else is going to win a rebounder, which is like a mini trampoline. Tony uses this every single day, shipped right to your door. Someone else is going to get a ticket to Life Wealth Mastery, which is a Tony Robbins event. Looks like we have some alumni in the house. Heck yes. Aaron, I see you, room 7. We got an alumni of that program. Incredible. And then again, we're going to have one lucky winner winning a ticket to Unleash the Power Within. 4 full days of total immersion with Tony Robbins. Coming up in 50 days from today, my friends. The prizes never stop. Come on. Okay, so if you are brand new and this is your first day here, coach yourself to get uncomfortable and let it rip in that group. Once we're done here in just a couple minutes, we want you guys to really go over, unless you're VIP, go in and get that video done ASAP. Hashtag identity challenge. Let's get into the winners from yesterday. Yesterday was your new story challenge. You guys shared what your old story was, what your new story was. The entire team over here, you guys, is completely, absolutely blown away at how you took this information and applied it to yourself, and you're moving it from knowledge just up here to feeling it in your nervous system. Your videos were outstanding. Your dedication is outstanding. And the cool piece is this is just a nibble. These 5 days are a nibble of what you can experience when you continue your training with Tony, but you're taking the opportunity and you're hitting a home run. So congratulations. We've got 5 winners for today. I want you guys to practice your virtual drum roll, so come on up to the screen, and you're just going to go like this. If you're in the chat box, YouTube, you guys are going to press the period button over and over and over again. That's what we call a virtual drum roll. 2 winners are going home with the Tony Robbins swag bag. The first person has a coaching business. Old story was she's got ADHD. Her neurodiversity was affecting her ability to grow her business. And her new story is that she's going to show up every single day with joy and encourage her clients to do the same by embracing who she is and allowing it to work for her. And that is Janice Goodlewski. Give it up for that woman. Look how beautiful that smile is. There we go. Second winner of the swag bag shipped right to your door. And it took this man, you guys, 2 hours to even post this video to get the courage, with which if anybody else did that, raise a hand, put it in the air. But his old story was that he was a victim for like 30 years, a ton of self-criticism. And then his new story is that he's strong and capable, and what he's going to implement is exploration. New people, overcoming fear, experiences, vulnerability, traveling the world. He wants it all 195 countries. That's the breakthrough, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Dan the Moolatran. One heck of a last name, my friend. All right, bring it down. loud. This is what you've been waiting for. 3 people are winning a ticket to Unleash the Power Within. And if you don't understand the gravity of this moment, I went to my first several years ago. It completely transformed my life. 4 full days of immersion. Tony mentioned it when you guys were talking about the 5 to Thrive, like the board breaking and people completely transforming their identities. That's this event. It's in 50 days. There's nothing else like it on the planet. 3 of you are going to win a ticket. When? Literally right now, ladies and gentlemen. Energy up, shoulders back. Let's do this thing. The first winner, his old story was that he doesn't have any friends. He can't make any new friends. He was bedbound for 14 years with a movement disorder, and he completely transformed that story on just day 1 with just 2 to 3 hours with Tony. And he says, I'm going to make new friends. I'm going to get out of my own way. I'm going to put myself out there. He's going to embrace happiness into his life, and you're going to do that at day 1, my friend, of Unleash the Power Within. That person is Nolan Kashat. Nolan, congratulations, my friend. And we got a golden doodle, for God's sakes. You and your dog are going to UPW. Unleash the Power Within. All right, winner number 2. I love this winner because this person is extremely relatable. And if you relate to this story, I just want you to put relates in the chat box. This person felt super held back about being a leader because she felt like she didn't have it in her. And it really wasn't going to be possible for her to be a leader. She says, I'm not a leader. No one wants to follow me. And if they follow me, it means that they can leave me. And it was this story that created a self-fulfilling prophecy. And she created a new story yesterday that she's a leader. She's worthy. She wants to serve and help people. And they're waiting for her to show up as her best. And she deserves that freedom. So this person that's going to embrace their freedom, and I want you to remember this, the winner, okay? I'm about to say it, but all of you. Day 3 of Unleash the Power Within, you're going to completely smash the crap out of any belief that you have holding you back. And this person is Bawala Desmond, going to Unleash the Power Within. Look at that smile. Beautiful. And our third winner, I'm going to try not to cry at this one because I watched this woman's video and she posted, it was so unbelievably courageous and vulnerable. And a lot of you saw it. This was one of the videos that had a lot of attention and attraction because she was so open. And she shared a story that for 9 years she suffered, saying, I don't deserve happiness, I don't deserve love, I don't deserve success, joy, I feel like a failure. And it's because 9 years ago, her brother took his life and she saw him. And she associated that belief to then she doesn't deserve success or happiness. And she went live in our Facebook community with tears in her eyes. She couldn't even get out of her mouth. But she had this breakthrough yesterday that was her old story. And 9 years later, she's decided that it's time to move on, that she does deserve success. She does deserve happiness. And only she can control her actions in her life. Her brother taking his life has no dictation on her success of her own. It only is a part of her story to wake her up so she can unleash herself. And we are all blown away by you, Natalia Polino. We love you. We love your openness. We love your heart. My friend, Unleash the Power Within, March 17th through 20th. Please block your calendar. Your life will never be the same. You're going to Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins, my friend. We love you. Congratulations to all of our winners.
The future is now.
All of you are just taking a mental note that it's not necessarily about the prizes, but your courage to go for it, to let it rip, to get beyond the belief of, I'm not going to go live. Going live sounds like it's simple, but it's the act of overcoming that little barrier of hesitation. And that video, when you go live, it's for you. She had no idea that going live and posting that video would translate to her feeling a breakthrough and leading to a 4-day event with Tony, but it did. So what's the breakthrough waiting for you guys? This is your moment now with today's identity challenge, #identity challenge. Let this rip and give your all. If you're all in for today's challenge, put all in inside the chat box. Okay? Final details from the team. Tomorrow we start at 2 p.m. Eastern time, right on time. Okay, 2 p.m. Eastern time here in YouTube, Zoom, Facebook, wherever you're at. And we are going to be talking about creating your own economy. You're probably thinking, what the heck does that mean? You're going to find out tomorrow with Tony, so you better be here. VIPs, we're going to get started in 5 minutes. One thing that I want to say is we had like 100,000 new people join this challenge yesterday, which means a lot of you might not know about VIP. Last time I'm going to mention it, but if you've loved day 1 and day 2, which have you, give me a big wave if yes. Yes. VIP allows you to keep those for life. Literally, download it on your computer. You could watch it tomorrow, next year, the year after. You get to have every single program saved for the rest of your life. You get a ton of other bonuses. You get a private Q&A session with Tony that starts in 5 minutes. So if you want to be a part of that, tonysvip.com. And then in 5 minutes, you'll be with Tony right here, fireside chat to ask your questions and get his answers. We love you guys. See you later. 5 minutes. Let's leave this room in a peak state, my friends. Day 2 of the Ultimate Breakthrough.